Well, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another live lawn care Q&A. My name is Ron Henry, and I am here to help answer your lawn care questions. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. Super happy to have you here. The way this works is really simple. On your screen, you will see a box. In that chat box, you can enter your question, your concern, your comment of the day, and I work through them in the order that they come in. Now, sometimes with the answer, sometimes I do not, but either time and either way, we have an awesome time talking about lawn care and sometimes life. Guys, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's a fun weekend in lawn care, and it's been a lot of fun this week. I've gotten lots of great pictures from viewers, lots of great content to share with you guys tonight, this afternoon, because this around lunchtime today, because I had some time off. I had the day off from work. I did like an impromptu live stream. So, folks that wanted to have some questions that can't make it to the live stream normally in the evenings were able to participate and be part of that show. Also, we are coming to you guys, as always, live as YouTube is our primary platform, but also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And now we've got Instagram linked into our streaming software, so you guys should be able to see us if you guys are here on the gram as well. So if I share something on the screen, you'll be able to see some of it. Granted, it's going to be like in portrait, so it's not going to show up as well, but you'll still be able to at least be more in the show. You won't feel as left out as you have been in times past. All right, so let's see what we have in the live stream this evening. We got Mr. Jackie Bear starting out. He says, and we're back. Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. Thank you so much, Jackie. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for all of the love and support. You're always a staple, always around, always here to support the show, which again means a whole lot. And then next up, we have Andrew. So for first question of the evening really comes from Andrew Core. And the little bit of background is he is in Denver and decided to do Tahoma 31 on his lawn. He's having some challenges. So let's get into that. his first question. He says, "Hey Ron, I was wondering if you could offer me some advice. I live in Denver and I just laid Tahoma 31 Bermuda grass this last fall." He says, was all good after laying it, but this spring it's taken a long time to green up and would say 1/3 still looks fully dormant. To compensate for that, I have heard about Bermuda being an option. Yeah, so and then there's other questions you got here. You said for people in the transition zone, which Denver is just north of. Curious if you have any thoughts about mixing Kentucky bluegrass and Bermuda and how well that works. Yeah, so a couple things, Andrew. First of all, I'm not sure why whoever did it decided to tell you that it was a good idea to use a Bermuda grass in Denver. I mean, can it grow there? Sure, but what you're experiencing is one of the problems with using a warm season grass in a climate that tends to be cooler a lot more than it is warm. The fact that it's taking longer to come out of dormancy is completely normal. I mean, I don't know what the temperatures are in Denver, but if you guys are still having cool temps, Bermuda is going to lag behind. It's going to take a bit longer to wake up. Even one that is more cold tolerant, like Tahoma 31. Now, onto your question as far as Bermuda goes, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of having cool season grass and warm season grass in the lawn at the same time throughout the entire season. So let's say you came to me and you said, "Hey, I want to overseed my Bermuda lawn with ryegrass during the fall so it can be green throughout the fall and into the winter months and in the spring, so it'll be more green, so I don't have to deal with dormancy." Like that I'd be better with. But Kentucky bluegrass typically isn't used for like fall overseeding because it takes longer to grow in, it takes longer to establish. And part of the challenge you're going to run into if you decide to go this route is if you have a Bermuda lawn and a Kentucky bluegrass blend and they're both growing at the same time. If you ever have to use herbicides on the lawn, the ones that you can use are going to be seriously limited because like what is safe for both Bermuda and also for Kentucky bluegrass, like that's going to be a challenge. Also, if you decide that you're going to use, say, like growth regulator, something like Primo Max, or even like a new offering on the golf course lawn store as far as growth regulators, like the rates for the growth regulators for warm season grass and cool season grass are different. So which one is going to be the best fit for that blended lawn? So in my mind, you're creating a lot of headache and problems that really don't need to be there. Like, and if you want to overseed in the fall with a ryegrass, so your lawn is green during the winter months or in the fall and in the winter months, sure, as long as you get rid of it in the springtime, that's okay. But as far as running Kentucky bluegrass year round blended in with Bermuda, I am not a fan of it. There's people that do it, but I'm not a fan. And I have yet to see a lawn like that looks, I mean, you may have a small period of time where it looks okay, but you're talking about two grasses that look very different, that have very different growth characteristics. And if you are real mowing it to where you want to use growth regulator as part of your program, it's just you're just asking for a lot of pain that doesn't need to be there, in my opinion. Again, really, Bermuda is not the best choice for you being in Denver. Like a Kentucky bluegrass or a rye or a fescue would have been a better call. If you want something that you can mow shorter, like a KBG or a rye would be, in my opinion, would have been a better choice. But we're kind of here now. So your options would be just wait it out, like let Bermuda do what it's going to do. And in the fall, you can do an overseed if you want the lawn to stay green longer, or take on the more expensive and more painful proposition of just doing a renovation and putting in a grass that is better suited for where you are in the country. Because Bermuda really isn't the best choice, in my opinion, for a lawn in Denver. You know what I mean? I mean, you're talking about like where you are in the country is further north, and then also Denver is a higher elevation, so it just stays cooler for longer than other parts of the country that are on that same that same part, that same as far north as you are, is probably what I'm trying to say. So hope that helps. Sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but I really don't want you to take what is arguably wasn't necessarily the best call and then compound it and making it more complicated and worse by introducing yet another grass that's going to really limit your options on herbicides, growth regulator, and just in general, just the way they grow and look together, in my opinion, does not look that great. So hope that helps. Appreciate you watching the content, and if you need anything else, let me know. You guys can see we have Tank Texas as the show sponsor currently. That is because during the live stream at lunch today, we did one during earlier in the day. Tank came in, gave a couple of super chats. So let me give you your DAP now, Tank. Super chat. And I promised him that he would be the show sponsor for the first few minutes of the live stream this evening because I couldn't, take care of what I was supposed to during the show earlier today. All right. Next up, we have Fresh Apples is in the house. He says 4 more minutes. Yeah, you're looking forward to the live stream getting started, huh? Next we got is Jason Harrison. So Jason Harrison, if you guys remember, he was doing a top dressing project that he was getting ready to work on, and he sent some extensive pictures. I always tell you guys, whenever you're top dressing your lawn, take pictures before, during, and after. Well, he took that very seriously. Sent a bunch of pictures to share with you guys. So he says that in his case, one cubic yard per 1,000 square feet was probably a bit heavy, and that he's dragging the lawn in now. So I got those pictures as well now, Jason. So he also got like a little narrative. He sent me like notes as far as what's happening in each one of the pictures. So we can walk through that right now. For any of you guys that want some inspiration for top dressing your lawn, like what's involved in the process. And Jason did it right. I mean, instead of doing all the work himself, he hired a service to do it. And overall, I think what I'm seeing looks like it's going to come out very, very nice in my opinion. All right, so let's get to that. Let's start walking you guys through what he did. So first of all, step 0, he first mows the lawn at 3/4 of an inch with the Revolution 26. So he's getting the height of cut down a little bit lower. This is a good idea because it makes it easier to be able to work the material into the canopy. Like when grass is longer, it's just more of a hassle, frankly, to be able to do this. And then next, he core aerated, which big fan of that. It's a great way to ensure that the top dressing mix that you apply integrates nicely with the soil profile. So good job on that, Jason. So core aeration, and in his case, he picked up the cores. He used a tool to do this. I think he said this was a pecan picker, which again, it's not necessarily designed for this, but hey, can't fault it if it works, right? Which it does. Next up, you can see all the cores that he got. So it looks like I'm not sure if there's all the cores that came up. So quite a bit. So really good job on doing that. And then next, we're starting to get serious. Next up, the sand is here. Looks like quite a bit. I forget how many yards he says he got there, but that's quite a bit of sand. He said, it's 10 cubic yards for 10,000 square feet, and this is USGA Command Compost from Golf Ventures. That's where he got this. So it's USGA sand and their compost blend. Looks pretty clean. He gives us a close-up shot of it, and I have to agree. That's good-looking stuff there. You don't see rocks and shit and stones and other garbage to ruin your life whenever you are top dressing. Next up, he turns it over to the pros. He's not about that life about doing all this himself. So you can see the guys are not messing around. They got some heavy equipment out there to move the material to get that out on the lawn, and to spread it, they're using an Eco 250. These things are sweet. I gotta tell you, I'd love to get my hands on one of these days to try out, because every video I see online of these those machines running looks awesome. They look really, really cool. So that's what they were using to spread the top dressing mix. And as we move on, you can see here, that's them laying it down. And moving on to the next picture, you can see what we're looking like. Overall, pretty good, man. I gotta admit, that's looking pretty solid. You said it went a little bit heavy. It doesn't look too bad to me. I mean, granted, they haven't drug it in yet, but I mean, overall, that looks the way they're laying it down, that does not look too bad in my opinion. All right, so next up, they're dragging it in now. He's got the drag mat and working the material into the canopy, and he's along the fence line. Got a leveling rake, looks like an R&R Products rake. Good choice. I do like that rake. I like mine. And a little close-up of the equipment they're using to drag everything in. And that is it. That is where we end up. So you can see quite a bit of a project, a lot of work that's been going on in the lawn. And again, thanks for sending the pictures. Thanks for documenting it, Jason. All that's left at this point is just to watch it grow in and start looking better, right? So really cool. I like it. I dig it. It looks good. Looks like they did a nice job. And again, when I look at them dragging it in, I mean, you're right. It's probably a touch heavy, but we'll see after you start watering it, and after a couple of days, how it settles in. So not bad at all. Nice job. Keep us posted as far as how it grows in. All right, we got a couple of super chats. Let's go down and grab those really quick. We got one from Mr. S. Flood. I think this is Sean. Thank you so much for the super chat, sir.
Super chat received.
Let's go. I need more stuff to spray. Get the likes flying. Have a great show, Ron. I appreciate that, Sean. So, Sean, so here's the thing. You guys know I always talk about spoon feeding, right? As far as all the benefits that I think it brings to a lawn care program. It gives you an opportunity to spray your plant growth regulator on a good cadence and just evens out the color and growth of the lawn. So overall, if you got the time to spoon feed your lawn, I'm a huge fan of doing that. So Sean started doing that, and he wanted to send me a couple of pictures of how his lawn is looking up to this point. I think he's been doing it a couple of weeks now, and by his own admission, he says it's probably a bit early, but I still think the turf looks pretty good. I mean, look, that's what he's working with as far as his front lawn, and then no front lawn picture would be complete without a close-up of that vanity strip. And I got to say, man, color looks good. Lawn looks really nice. I like that the edge work on the lawn looks nice. Those lines look nice and crisp, nice and clean. So really good, man. It's only going to get better as you do it more and more. So thank you for sending the pictures. Again, thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. And it's the lawn's coming together nicely. So keep going. And then next up, we have the LSU fan, Mr. Kenny Cadow in live stream.
Super chat received.
He's happy Friday, everyone. Hit that like button. Monaco Renovation Day 26 is needing to be cut 2 to 3 times now. Still some areas need filling in, but it will get there. Nice. So what percentage are we grown in now, Kenny? Because I know at one point we were at like 35, 45, 60%. Sounds like at day 26 you're doing pretty good now. You're happy with where it is, which is cool. Keep us posted. If you get a chance, send us a picture of the progress of the lawn. Again, even though you're an LSU fan, doesn't mean you can't send lawn care pictures. We'll still put them up. We're not going to give you a hard time. You can still be part of the show. We're still going to make sure that you're included in the live stream. Thanks for the update, sir. Again, when you get a chance, send me a picture of it, and I'll definitely get you on the show. All right, so let me look over here on Instagram. Hopefully you guys are able to see a bit more. I know I'm a little bit closer because you're seeing me off of the camera that's like 3 feet from my face. So I know there's probably more of me here than you guys would normally get to see, but it allows me to at least share pictures so you guys can see that. All right, and again, if you guys want to be part of the show, feel free to chime in. And we'll be able to get your questions integrated as much as possible. All right, so Fresh Apples is up next. He said, "Hey, I also recently top dressed my lawn. I got a ton of seed heads. Is that normal?" Yeah, it is. Fresh Apples. The thing you got to keep in mind though that the two things are not related. So just because you top dress your lawn doesn't mean that caused you to have seed heads. This time of year, as temperatures tend to get warmer as the lawns move out of spring and into the heat that is more along the lines of summer, you tend to have a 2 to 3 week period where seed heads become a lot more pronounced in the lawn. And it looks like in your case, it just happens that when your seed heads began showing up, it aligned with when you were top dressing. So completely normal. They should go away in a few weeks. So nothing that I would really be too concerned about. If you want to suppress them, something you can use is consider using a growth regulator like Primo, or if as well, you can also use a new. So you can use a new or Primo, or if you saw my video that was published last night, you can use both of these together. It's a great combination. I actually like this combination better than just Primo alone. But yeah, seed heads, completely normal. Your top dressing isn't the thing that caused it, and they will, it's going to recover over time. So I really wouldn't sweat it too much. Nothing to worry about. Completely normal. And you said on the other side of the lawn it's doing better. I didn't apply image. On that side, there are some lighter spots, not as thick. What can I do about those? Just time. And you said you spray a lot. You said I sprayed a lot of image 2 months ago and half my lawn is white, not recovering. What should I do? Again, time. So guys, the thing is, whenever you're spraying herbicides, and it's kind of a good reminder for everybody, like I've got a couple of pictures from, like we have, Fresh Apples' comment, and then also folks that have emailed me pictures, like some folks have gotten their hands on some Spectricide and then went a bit heavy on the application rate. And the thing to keep in mind, guys, is that you really want to respect the label. You really want to stick to the label. Like going heavier, especially when it comes to herbicides, is not going to produce the result that you're after. Like it's going to take care of the weeds, but it's also going to damage your lawn, and that's not what we want. So The rates that are on the label are there for a reason. Follow those rates. I mean, worst case scenario, in 3 weeks later, if you need to go back and spray those areas again, you can absolutely do that. But by sticking to the label rates, a herbicide that is supposed to be selective for a particular grass type is going to behave that way. So if you have a herbicide that is designed to be sprayed safely on Bermuda grass, and you spray it at 2 or 3 or 4 times the rate, it's not as selective anymore. You know what I mean? It's not going to necessarily kill the lawn, but it's definitely going to yellow it really badly. It's going to look ugly, and it's going to take several weeks to recover. So really respect the label. The way you should look at herbicides, or the way to think about weed management, weed control, is use pre-emergent to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then if you have to use a post-emergent herbicides, spray it per the label rate. So in other words, don't look out your lawn and be like, oh, I've got like tons of weeds on my lawn now. Time to go like super heavy with the herbicides to try and fix this problem faster. You're not going to like the results that you're going to come across if you do that. So just a word of advice. I would stick to the label rates. In your case, fresh apples, just give it time. It's going to recover. Then the good thing is that you have Bermuda. So even when you want to get rid of it, it's pretty hard to do so. So I wouldn't get too worried about it. All right, Mr. Robert Rainey's in the evening in the house. He says, "Good evening, all. What's going on, Robert? Hopefully you're doing well, sir. Thanks for stopping by to say hello." And the next up, we got Rashid Turner has the question: how deep of a hole should you cut to lay sod? I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, normally when I see sod cutters, it's like 2 to 3 inches. Whenever they are like getting rid of the existing sod and then laying more. But I'm not, as far as a hole, I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So if you're cutting out the existing lawn and putting more sod down, then a sod cutter, 2 to 3 inches is what you should see. If you are talking about using like laying sod in to patch an area of a lawn that's bare, then yeah, same thing. 2 to 3 inches is what I would aim for. Again, depends on how thick it is, right? I mean, if it's a thinner piece of sod, you can go less, but based on how thick the sod is, that's how much material you're going to want to remove approximately, so that when you lay it, it is more even with the lawn. You don't have like a big bump or a big dip. You're not going to get it 100% perfect, but by using how thick the sod is as a gauge of how much material you need to remove to patch a bare spot in your lawn, that's going to get you pretty close. So I hope that helps. That is what I would do if you decide that that's the way you want to go. Again, Rashid, you didn't ask this, but I'm not a huge fan of, at least when it comes to Bermuda anyway, I'm not a huge fan of patching like bare spots in Bermuda with sod, especially if it's Tifway 419, because there's so many different variations on it that it's very likely you could end up with a piece of sod that is Tifway 419, but doesn't match the Tifway 419 that's in your lawn. And then once it's in, you're kind of stuck with it, right? So just something to consider before you go out there and do that. A better alternative, takes a bit longer, in my opinion, is to use a plugger, like transfer plugs from parts of the lawn that are doing well into areas that are not doing as well. And that is going to, in general, that's going to produce a better result for you. All right. Next up is Higgy Pop. Higgy Pop's in the house. He says, "Happy Friday, everyone." What's going on, Higgy? So this is yet another person that has taken on the challenge, the monumental challenge of top dressing their lawn. You guys remember last week, he had his poor daughter out there working away at the lawn. Granted, she is smiling in these pictures, but you can see pain behind that leveling rake. But so last week, he sent a picture of where he was with the top dressing, and then now he sent a follow-up. So that's where he was. And then as of today, this is how it looks after his first mow. So still filling in, but looks pretty good, man. I can't complain. The color looks nice. And he said it's been a while since he last mowed it, but overall, not bad. Not bad. Lawn is filling in nicely. In another week or so, that is going to look even better. The nice thing about this time of year when it comes to top dressing is, the days are getting longer as far as like the amount of sunlight, and then also just the amount of heat that we're getting. Bermuda's just lighting off like wildfire. It's really going to grow quickly. So your lawn, I wouldn't be shocked if between even like from this week to next week, you're going to see a noticeable visual improvement in the lawn. So great timing as far as when you decide to do it. I think it's just going to get that much better. So good stuff. Again, thank you for sending the pictures and the update of how your lawn is doing. Next up, we got Mr. Richard Madison in the house. He says, "Good evening, folks." What's going on, Richard? Thanks for coming and hang out in the live stream. And then Offered NV is on the house here from Instagram. He's chiming in. He says, "Hey, Ron, hope you're having a fun-filled weekend with some grass mowing? I am. You know what? Actually, you guys want to see how the lawn is looking at this point? So this was taken yesterday. I shot this video yesterday. And overall, not bad. Color looks solid. The stripe action is on point. Checkerboard is in full effect. And, we're entering that time of the year with my lawn where I will put the stamp on it where I will say it looks good. It's not quite there yet. Another week, another 10 days, I think it's going to peak. And then I'll have like 2 or 3 weeks where I'll be able to go out there and in the morning and sip my lemonade and just look at it and enjoy the awesomeness of the lawn. And then it will start tapering off again, in my opinion. You guys think it looks good all season long, but for me, June, the first part of June, late May, early June is the time when my lawn, in my opinion, looks its best during that 2 to 3 week period. So slowly getting there. Just have to keep plugging away at it. All right, next up is CPIMS. Colin is in the house. He says, "What's happening, Ron? Hopefully your Friday has been well. Tuning in for some good turf chat. Happy my front lawn renovation is officially done. Can't wait to mow and get it dialed in. Nice." So if you guys, again, continuing with our theme of lawn renovation projects, Colin also sent me some pictures. And guys, I have to tell you guys, I appreciate you guys lining it all up for me so we can get these all knocked out and show folks what you're working with. So I can find where Colin's are. Okay, so this is where he was before. And I think I got the timeline correct, Colin, based on the date stamps on the pictures. But if I got them wrong, let me know. So this is where he was before, prior to renovation. And then next up, you can see him killing off the existing paspalum. And then next, you can tell he's got the grass out, he's raked it, got it nice and smooth, a nice even surface, ready for that sod. And then the picture from today, the pièce de résistance, is that. So overall, it looks good, man. I mean, looking at it, it looks like you did a really good job laying that sod. It looks really smooth, or relatively smooth to me. You may do, or you likely have to do a light top dressing once you're done. But overall, just from looking at the picture, it looks good, man. It looks good. You can see like a sod and a half away from the right side. It looks like that's where your swale area is. So that's how the lawn is going to drain. So it looks like you took all that into account. And overall, looks good, man. Yeah, when you put that mower on it, it's gonna look sweet. So overall, great job. And all the work that you went into, just going from this to the prep. This is where the money was made. Like this is the hard part of getting this to look good. And then finally, laying the sod. Overall, came out really nice in my opinion. And I think that in a couple of weeks as it grows in, you're really gonna be happy with it. So great work. I like it. Looks really good. Keep us posted as far as how it develops. All right, next up we got Demarculus Thompson in the house. He says, "Greetings, Ron and lawn crew. Now that we are in full swing, is it a good time to switch to Miramichi 444 Organic? Thanks for all you do." Sure, Demarculus. If you want to go with an organic fertilizer, that the temperatures are such now that an organic fert is going to work a bit faster than it would say if you had applied it in, say, March. There's like more activity in the soil. So yeah, if you were looking to move to organic, now would be a great time to do it. I'm not saying you necessarily have to wait until the month of May to go to organic. Like for example, last year on my front lawn, I used the Miramichi 444 all season long and love the results that I got with it. But if you're going to go to that now, that's going to be absolutely fine. Again, you'll see a response from it sooner this time of year than had you done it, say, in like March or April when temperatures are still kind of ramping up. So good stuff, sir. Hope that helps. It's a great question. And Demarculus, I haven't given away a t-shirt from Miramichi in a while. I'm not sure if I got one handy here. Actually, yeah, I do. I got one right here. So if you would like some swag, you want some sweet gear to wear so you can be stylish out there while you're putting out your 444 fertilizer, you, sir, can be our Miramichi question of the week. You can win one of these greatness from the ground up t-shirts. If you want one, just send me an email to ron@golfcourselawn.com, and I will tell you how to get your shirt, how to get your swag. So my email, you should have it already, but if not, this is it. It is ron@golfcourselawn.com. Send me an email there, and I'll say, here's how you get your shirt. So again, thank you for the question. I think the folks at Miramichi will like that one, and I appreciate you being part of the show. Next up is Terrence Stamps is in the house. He says, "Good evening, Ron and fellow lawn enthusiasts." What's going on, Terrence? Hopefully you're doing all right, sir. And then next up is, we've already answered that question, Rashid. Next up, we got James Harrison in the house. He says, "Hey, Devin, if you're here, have you ever seen a lightning bolt hit a green? I saw a TikTok of it and it's wild." Oh yeah, I saw that. That was actually, it's pretty crazy as far as the arc and how it burns the green. It's pretty gnarly. I think I was telling you guys in the live stream or in the Academy group on Facebook that I would cry. It would pain my heart. It looked pretty nasty what it did. Okay, next up is Tito Serrano. He's in the house. He says, "Hey Ron, San Antonio here, Tifway for 19. Off on the street is looking great, but standing over it, you can see a lot of dirt, very thin. How can I thicken my lawn up? I just got a California trimmer." Okay, so great question, Tito. So you said it looks great from the street, but you can see a lot of dirt. It's really thin. So that the way to help thicken up your lawn, a couple of things you can do for that. One, you've got a real mower. So regular mowing, especially at lower heights, is going to encourage growth and is going to encourage that lawn to thicken up and to spread. Making sure you got a good nutrient program so you're feeding the lawn properly, that's going to also help with it. Also, if you're not, you've got Tifway 419, so using a growth regulator like Primo or like a new, either one or both of these will also help promote lateral growth and spreading. It's going to help the lawn thicken up as well. So you got a bunch of different tools you can use to for that purpose. But you having a real mower and regularly using it is going to be a big part of that. So fertilization, growth regulator, all those things are important. Mowing is what brings it all together. So that's what I would tell you as far as tips to get your lawn to thicken up. It's a great question. So, and it's just time. I mean, you said California. Where are you? San Antonio. Yeah, so San Antonio. It's you guys got plenty of heat this time of year. So I mean, it shouldn't be that much longer for, assuming you're doing all those things that I'm telling you about to get the lawn to really start taking off. All right, so I got another super chat, one that I missed here. Let me get down. Oh, I only have two. I only have Kenny. I think someone was saying that I missed one because I don't see one here on the live stream. Another one here. I only have two. So if someone was asking about one, I don't see it here. Maybe in the previous live stream is what you're talking about. Okay, next up we got Mr. Leeson in the house. He says that green shirt is fire. Ain't it though? I mean, look at it. It's the Toro Greens Master. A viewer, Josh Habib. I don't see him on the live stream as much anymore. I think he's out of North Carolina. Made this shirt for me and sent it to me. Got stripe action and the Greens Master 1600s. It's pretty sweet. One of my prized possessions, one of my favorite shirts to wear. So I tend to not do too much lawn work in it. I kind of save it for the live stream because I only have one of them and I want it to stay looking nice, as nice as a t-shirt can stay. But yes, you're right. It is fire. I do like it. I agree, Lee. It does look pretty good. Next up we got Giarni Eddie just waving and saying hello. What's going on? Hopefully you're doing well. See, now here's this cool Instagram, folks. I know, as far as video, I'm a bit up in your grill because of the way the camera is, but at least you guys can now, you can be part of the show. I can write you guys back and forth, which is kind of cool. So hopefully you guys are liking that. All right, next up we got Sean Murphy in the house. He says that happy Friday, Ron. Hope all is well. Cannot complain. Lawn leveling as we speak. I should be finished sometime tomorrow. Looking forward to the amazing results. Sounds good, Sean. I hear you. You must have a larger lawn that has taken a couple of days to get it done. But yeah, I mean, I have not ever leveled my lawn and looked back at it afterwards and said, man, you know what? It wasn't worth doing that. It was a bad idea to do that. So I think you'll be very happy with the results once you're done with it. Now, during this time when you're going through, actually spreading the material out and dragging it in, there's going to be some not fun from that aspect of it, but it's totally worth it once you're all done with it. Next up is Aaron Fleck. He says here, I'm in Arizona. It's hot now. I guess, when is it not hot in Arizona? It would be the real question there, Aaron. He says, I've done a soil test and there are no major deficiencies, slightly high or low here and there. My question is, what could be the main reason my Bermuda grows extremely slow? Okay, so you've done a soil test, no major deficiencies, and you, I guess, a couple of things. Is the Bermuda getting enough sunlight? So is it getting plenty of direct sunlight? That would be thing one. with your soil test results, I'm not sure what soil test you got and what deficiencies you had, but when Bermuda's actively growing, like nitrogen is what really drives Bermuda. So at a minimum, you need to be feeding the lawn some N. I'm a fan of using fertilizers that have nitrogen and potassium in them. So like that is what I would use. Like Humic Max is what I run on my lawn every month. So if you've not fed the lawn all season, that could be part of why it's growing slower. If there's shade, as far as certain parts of the lawn, that also can affect it. Not getting enough water, that can also affect it. But typically, Bermuda is getting enough sunlight, and you're feeding it enough nutrient. It's getting enough nitrogen. It growing slow is not a characteristic that you typically hear that's attributed to Bermuda grass, especially with higher temperatures. So I would look into feeding it if you've not done so already. That is what I would do. All right, next up is No Name. He's in the house. He says, "Hey, Ron and fellow lawn enthusiasts, looking forward to some great lawn chat. Let's get those likes up." I appreciate that, No Name. So yeah, we have got 120 folks here in the live stream right now. If you guys have not hit that like button, please do so. It's a free way to support the channel, free way to support the content. We've only got 49 likes. Surely we can do better. So if you guys would not mind hitting that like button ever so gently, I'd really appreciate it. Tonight's vintage, and I'm almost afraid to say this because Lee's going to give me a hard time over it because he has no behavior. So we've got Chick-fil-A lemonade again, a bit of water to help dilute that, and I've got that same thing that I did last week with the watermelon juice puree. So like watermelon juice, ginger, and I think there's some lime in it, even though it's already lemonade. Really good combo. Really, really good. So it's like a combination of watermelon and lemonade. So while I thought like you couldn't make Chick-fil-A lemonade any better, you put like some actually blended up like pureed like watermelon in there. It's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Really good. Something to try out if you like ginger and if you like watermelon. If not, then don't do it. All right. Next up is WJM4. He says, "How would you go about weed control for a lawn that is a mix of Bermuda and tall fescue in the shadier areas? Most weed killer is labeled for warm or cool season grass." It's a great question, WJM. So there are some that you can use on both. Like if you think about a three-way that we carry on the Golf Course Lawn Store, Triad is a good option. It is labeled for use on warm and cool season grasses. The thing you have to be careful with it though is the temperature range. You really want to make sure that the temperatures are going to be under 85 degrees whenever you use it to avoid any temporary injury. Given that you're going to be using this in a part of the lawn where it's shaded, there's less of a concern with that, but I would look into Triad if you're looking for an option that will that you can use on both your Bermuda and your fescue. Again, this assumes that you're trying to control like broadleaves, which is what Triad is really good for. So if you're looking for that, if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store, if you go to Shop and then Weed Killer, and I believe it's on page 2, or you can just use search, and that will get you this. Yeah, Triad Select. So it comes in a gallon or a quart, so depending on how much you need, and this is labeled for use on, again, on most common warm season grasses and cool season grasses. So where you would not use this is if you had, like, say, St. Augustine or centipede, not a great choice, but rye, fescue, Bermuda, zoysia, like all of those tolerate this well. So if you're looking for something that you can use on both, one herbicide, or at least one broadleaf herbicide anyway, that can do both, then this is what I would look into. Now, if you're dealing with more, specialized weeds, like if you're dealing with like Poa annua, that is where you're going to have to get a herbicide that is specific to that particular grass type. So if you're in the case of Poa annua or even like sedges, Certainty would be a good choice, or would be the best choice in my opinion for warm season turf grass. And then for cool season turf grass, you could use Sedgehammer. So that would work. And Sedgehammer you could actually use on both. You can use Sedgehammer on warm and cool season turf grass. So if you're looking to get just one for sedges, Sedgehammer would be the way to go. It's going to be a bit slower though than something like Certainty. So it just depends on if that's a concern for you or not. So I'll send you a link here where you can pick those up. That is the link to Triad. And then just in general, our herbicide page is here. So if you take a look at this, that should get you all squared away as far as as far as weed control in your blended lawn. But the thing I would say is this, right? Before you go out and buy herbicides, like I gave you a couple of options that are labeled for use on the two grasses that you have. If you can, identify what weeds you have first, so that way you'll know what is going to be the best fit, which herbicide is the best fit for your grass. Whenever I get an email from someone, they say, "Hey, I've got this weed." It never fails. I get a picture of someone saying, "I got this weed in my lawn. What do you think about it? What should I use to get rid of it?" My next email, my message back to them is, "What kind of grass do you have?" Because that's really important. So thing one, identify what the weed is, and then thing two, identify what kind of grass you have, because then that, what you're basically doing is you're identifying the problem, you're identifying the constraints as far as what kind of grass you want, the desirable plants you want to keep around, and then that's going to filter out what products you can use to control that weed in that particular type of grass without damaging, while minimizing damage to your desirable grass. So it's always identify the weed, know what kind of grass you have, and then you'll based on that, you'll be able to figure out which herbicides are the best fit. And sometimes the answer is none. Sometimes there are certain weeds that there's just not a lot of great options for controlling them selectively. And that's when you have to do one or two things. You either live with it, or you go with a non-selective herbicide like Roundup and just know that you're going to take some damage in that area where you're getting rid of the weed, and you'll have to either reseed or resod or transfer plugs or whatever to help recover that spot. So it really depends on those two major factors. What's the weed, what kind of grass you have, and then you'll be able to determine if there are any selective options for controlling that in your lawn. So hope that helps, sir. It's a great question. Like what you just asked is yet another reason. Your question is a perfect example. Like the viewer earlier that asked about Bermuda and mixing Bermuda and Kentucky bluegrass as like a way of running their lawn. Like what you just asked is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of doing that, because what you end up with outside of like a three-way, like you're pretty much compromised in as far as what your options are for controlling weeds when you got a blended cool season and warm season lawn. So it's better to pick one and stick with it. Pick a team and stick with it. Don't be blending stuff. Don't do that. Not the best way to go, in my opinion. All right. Next up is Andrew Core. Let's see here. He says, "That's great, Ron. Thank you. Lesson learned for sure. Our HOA had it as an option as a cold tolerant, drought-resistant grass, but in hindsight, I should have done the Kentucky bluegrass. Appreciate the help." It's not too late, man. Here's the thing with grass. Here's one of the big things. And I know it's easy to say this if you are not actually dealing with a big issue, but there's not many problems, not many things you can do to a lawn that cannot be fixed with time, right? So if you get out there and you put Bermuda in, granted, Bermuda's kind of a pain to get rid of once it's in, but if you've got the budget and you want to transition to Kentucky bluegrass, you can absolutely do that. You can burn down the Bermuda. Glyphosate and fusilade is my personal, the blend that I really like for doing that. And then you can, resod or put Kentucky bluegrass in and go on about your merry way. That's going to be honestly a better fit for where you are in the country than Tahoma 31. So just something to keep in mind there. So hope that helps. All right. And then Fresh Apple says, "I love the super chat receive sound." You like that?
Super chat received.
Pretty cool, right? Anytime someone sends me a super chat, I figure you want to acknowledge the folks that are opening their walls to help support the live stream. So next up is Hill Green. He says, "Hey Ron, can you instruct me on how to use Carbonized PN? I sent you pictures of an email. I wanted a little more info about it. Thanks for your reply." Yeah. So Carbonized PN is a compost and biochar product. So if you open it up, it looks like a bag of like some of the richest topsoil that you've ever seen. So I can talk about it, but why talk when we can show? So if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store, you go to Shop, and then you go to Miramichi Green Biostimulants, and then go down to Carbonized PN. We've got a couple pictures here, and I will show you like what it looks like. So that's what you're working with there as far as carbonized PN goes. You can see that it is hang on one second. You can see that it's pretty much a very rich topsoil. And what that means as far as spreading it, you're going to want to use either, if you have from a powered tool standpoint, you want to use something like an Eco 250, like what you saw, the Jason Harrison showed earlier that was happening on his lawn. So something that looks like, oh, can I do this? If I can find the right picture. Something that looks like no, not that, not that, not that. Something like looks like this. I think this one is the right one. Yeah. So if you're doing a larger area, a tool like that does a good job spreading it is going to be the way you're going to want to go. Outside of that, your option is going to be to use a leveling rake. So you can see here, I've got one in this picture on the little right-hand side there, a leveling rake or a lawn lute, depending on where you are in the country. So you see I've got, you spread it on the lawn like how I'm doing, and then you take a leveling rake, which I've got there in the background, to work it into the soil profile. So, so there you go. Yep. So you can use that to just kind of massage it into the area that you're trying to correct. So what I'll do for you as well, Hill, is I've got a video on top dressing using carbonized PN, and I'll see if I can find it here. And yeah, here we go. I got it. I found it through the magic of search. I'll show you. I'll send you this, and you can take a look at that, and you can see the process that I used for putting out. But it's not rocket science. You can use a leveling rake. You can use a broom. You know, if you're doing such a small area, then a broom will work just fine too, like a heavier shot broom. So you can just spread it out like you see me doing there. Take a shot broom and then work it in, and then away you go. So let's see here at Hill Green, and this is that's the YouTube video that that shows the process that I'm talking about. But again, not rocket science, not super hard to do. All right. Next up, we have a super chat. This one is from Mr. Luis Ayabareño. Thank you so much, Luis.
Super chat received.
He says, "Hi, I missed 2 streams. Saw amazing Bermuda lawns in Texas. Assisted sister-in-law with the golf course lawn store products. Hired a service while gone. So looking forward to mowing and applications tomorrow. Nice. Can't wait for the new products to be in stock and arrive and test drive anew." Yeah. So, I mean, a couple things. First of all, thank you for the super chat. And then thing 2, nice job on going down to help your sister out and with her lawn, getting her on the right track for getting it looking good. And I agree with you. Bermuda is pretty awesome. Bermuda is pretty awesome. So you're in Texas, you got to see lawns that look like this. You know, a short season, our warm season grass guys, you know, we and gals, we know what's up. We know what's up. And I'm not that your lawn, your cool season grass doesn't look good, but there's something about some shortcut warm season turf. As far as products go, yeah. So what he's referring to are the new fertilizers that we've launched from the golf course lawn store. If you were to go to shop and then lawn fertilizer, there's 2. There's the fertilizer that replaces Turflex, it's a 22-3, and then one that replaces Nutrizolve. Although we still carry Nutrizolve for the time being, so you can still get that, which is the golf course lawn micronutrient. And the nice thing about these is that they contain more micronutrient than the fertilizers that they replace, and they also contain folic acid to help enhance uptake. So they're better pretty much in every way than the fertilizers that they are replacing. And as far as availability, within the next couple of weeks here, you guys will be able to order it. If you want to get on the list, the fastest way to be able to get it is to go to either one of these. Let's say you want the micronutrient, right? And then you see here, you're going to see a button that says notify when available. Click on that, drop your email address in there. And what that's going to do is as soon as we get the inventory in stock and we set it live, you're going to get an email saying, "Hey, it's in stock, come get it." So like literally it's faster than me making a video about it, faster than me putting a post on YouTube community or doing anything else. Literally as soon as it's in stock, you will be among the first to know. So I'll tell you guys to go to the store and just drop your email, and it's the fastest way to get notified as far as when it's available. And as far as a new, I think you're really going to like this, man. I had a great discussion with the folks at New Farm today. This morning I was talking to them about it. They were getting I was giving them some feedback on what I was seeing in my testing with combining a new and primo. Like if you look at their guidance on their on like some of the white pages they have for this product, one of the use cases for it, like outside of what most growth regulators will do, right? So seed head suppression, better color, better drought resistance, disease, just all the benefits of PGRs, is that because it regulates more evenly at a single rate, it's great for masking common Bermuda in a hybrid Bermuda lawn. And I tested that on my lawn because I've got some spots of common here and there, and it's done a wonderful job. Like noticeably, like you guys have been commenting this year. Normally I get 1 or 2 people this time of year saying, hey man, I can see a bunch of common in your lawn. And this year I've got none. So I haven't had any so far. So which is good. So yeah, as far as something you can add to Primo, you can use both these together. I'm in the video that I released yesterday. I primarily spoke about using it to hide common in a hybrid lawn, but just as an enhancement to your growth regulator program, even if that's not you, there's a lot of benefits to it. So I would wholeheartedly look at I'm adding this to your program if you want something to add to Primo to get even better regulation and to really slow down the lawn. And the rates that I showed in that video work really well on a Bermuda lawn. You know, you stick to the lower end of the rates and you're going to get a good result, especially if you're stacking it with Primo. There's really no need to go heavy with a new. To give you an example, I actually poured some out here. So if you were going to go out and use a new, let me actually get your super chat off of here for a second, Luis, and I'll get you up here as our show sponsor. Make sure I don't forget that. But if you're going to use a new to go spray, say 4,000 square feet, so you're putting it in your 4-gallon backpack sprayer. What you would do is you would use half an ounce as far as Primo goes. You would use 0.5 fluid ounces of Primo, so half an ounce of Primo in 4 gallons of water. That is the half rate for Primo Max for Bermuda grass, for hybrid Bermuda, the low end. And then for a new, you would use a total of 2 ounces of a new in 4 gallons of water. So what that looks like, to show you guys how little of this stuff it takes. Before the live stream, I got a cup out here and I put some water in it. And this is actually a little bit more than 2 ounces. That's 2 ounces right there. And I'm a little bit above that. So this is an idea of how much of this stuff you're going to put in 4 gallons of water to cover 4,000 square feet. So a little bit goes a long way. Like one of these bottles, if you're treating warm season turf grass, covers 160,000 square feet. If you're treating cool season turf grass, where the rates are even lower, it's double. So you can do like 320,000 square feet out of, so that's like, what is that? It's over 7 acres out of a single bottle of this if you're dealing with cool season turf grass and you're spraying at the lower rates. So again, it doesn't take very much, like that much of this stuff in 4 gallons of water coupled with half an ounce of Primo is awesome, man. That's really all you need to get a really good result. So if you decide to give a new a shot, again, we've got it in stock and shipping in the golf course lawn store. Just stick to the low rates. Like I've done the testing for you. I'm trying to save you guys, like, you know, from getting out there and giving your lawn an unnecessary ouchie. Like when it comes to growth regulator, I was talking to the folks at New Farm today. We were doing like, you know, they're asking for my thoughts and we were doing like a little interview. And, you know, one of the questions they asked me, they said, when it comes to growth regulator, what advice, because we're branching out more into the homeowner community, what advice would you give to homeowners when it comes to someone that is starting out with growth regulators? I said, the biggest piece of advice I'd tell you is, for the love of everything holy, stick to the label. Like do not use more than what the label calls for. This is true for pretty much all products you put on your lawn, but especially growth regulator, especially for someone that's brand new. When they see 4 gallons of water and you're only putting like this much stuff in there, they're saying, man, there's no way that's going to be enough, right? I mean, maybe I can just do double will be fine. And that's how you run into problems. So if you stick to the lower rates, and per the label, you're going to get a good result. Like growth regulators they're highly concentrated. You don't need a lot of them, and it produces a good result. So we'll see whenever, you know, New Farm gets around to cutting that up and you know, posting on their website, you know, how much of what I was saying they use or not. So, but yeah, if you guys are interested in what Luis is talking about as far as a new, this is the product that I'm referring to, and you can get it. I'll actually pin it. You can actually find it on the golf course lawn store. We've got it in stock and shipping. And again, that one bottle covers at least 160,000 square feet if you're dealing warm season turf grass, and double that if you're dealing with cool season turf grass. So thank you so much, Luis, for the super chat. We will get you up now as the show sponsor, Bareño, because you are you have donated the most this evening, so we definitely do appreciate that. So there you go, sir. Your name in lights for whatever that means to you. Thank you so much for the super chat, and again, good job on helping your sister out with her lawn. You are good for it. Appreciate all the love and support and the feedback. All right, next up we have a question from CK Play 99. It says, best liquid fertilizer for zoysia grass. I mean, best is relative, man. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish. What I would use on a zoysia lawn is I would use Release 901C, or when you can actually get it, I would use our 22-3 fertilizer. Like this is what I would use for like regular feeding of a zoysia lawn. Like that's what I would go with. But it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So the reason why I like Release 901C is that it's both a biostimulant, it's like 10% micronized carbon, along with a bit of nitrogen and potassium in it. And it is the fact that even though it's a lower amount of N and potassium, it's you see a great color response using that product. And for someone that just wants kind of like a bit of everything all in one, this is a great choice, right? Because you've got your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, you've got a full suite of micronutrient, you've got some fulvic acid and kelp to help maximize that uptake. So as far as like a do-it-all type liquid fertilizer, this is an excellent choice, and you're going to be able to get it here soon in a couple weeks in the golf course lawn store. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but 901C or our new 22-3 fertilizer is what I would go with, and you can get them both. I'll send it to you. You can get them both here. So hope that helps, CK. There you go. All right. Next up is Romulo de Jesus. Tenacity, which zone? Not really zone, it's more grass type, right? So if you have cool season turf grass and the weed you're trying to control is one that Tenacity is labeled to control, then you could go with Tenacity. If you have, what's another option? So you have a centipede lawn, because Tenacity is also labeled for use on centipede. If you wanted to try and control, say, crabgrass in centipede, Tenacity is a good option for that, because there's not, like the herbicide that we use that's really good for controlling crabgrass, quinclorac, you can't use on centipede grass. So Tenacity is a good option. So it's not so much the zone, it's more the grass type and the weed that you're trying to control. So it's kind of like what I said earlier. What's the weed that we're trying to get under control? And then what kind of grass do you have? And then that will dictate which herbicide makes the most sense as the correct tool to use for getting the weed out of your lawn. Not really a zone thing as much as far as it's not really a zone thing as much as what kind of grass you have. All right. Let's see here. Next up is Patrick Forsyth. I'm not sure what you're saying here. Basically last year when my client went over 2 weeks. Okay, so I'm not sure what your question is, Patrick. You said, hey, Ron, I'd like to explain something I did last year, and I want to do it again for my client. Basically last year, my client went over for 2 weeks. I'm not sure what you're saying, Patrick, but I'm sure there's more to come later on. Let's see here. You said, oh, here we go. You said you blanket covered the poania with some herbicide and mixed fertilizer with it, and it worked like a charm. Okay, so you use selective herbicide to get rid of POA, and you mix some fertilizer in the tank as well. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of grass you have. If you're in Forsyth, if you are in Georgia, I imagine maybe Certainty is what you went with, because that works really well against Poa annua, and yes, you can mix fertilizer with it as well. So yeah, not surprised that you got good results with that. All right. Next up we have, and guys, if you guys are sending me pictures, you got to put your name, or put the handle you're using on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. You actually have to put that in the email subject line. Otherwise, I'm not going to know who I'm getting pictures from. Like I get a picture from someone here and I don't know. Again, I don't want to say your name out on live in case you actually want that. So it'd be better if you put your name in the your handle in the subject line, so I know that I can tie the picture to the person. Okay. Next up we have Kenny Cadow says, I sent an email of pictures yesterday, the one with the comment about the Tigers beating the Bulldogs in the first round. I don't know. That probably went to my spam folder, Kenny. That kind of stuff. I just don't put up with that kind of abuse, really. I don't tolerate it. So I've got filters in there whenever, especially LSU fans. probably got caught by my spam filter. To be able to, that's probably what happened. Is what I think happened. That's probably why I didn't get your email, unfortunately. I do have some pictures here though from someone that did renovation. I mean, the picture, the lawn actually looks pretty decent, like it's growing in well. So there's no way this could be from an LSU fan. So I'll show the pictures, but I'm not going to really attribute this to you because I can't imagine that someone that supports LSU would be able to grow a lawn that looks that's coming in this nicely. So we'll show the pictures anyway. We'll see. All right, so this looks like a lawn that was recently seeded, and to his point, it's growing in. It's growing in pretty nicely. Looks like a Monaco Bermuda. I mean, I can't tell for sure, but I'm looking really close. It looks like Monaco possibly. And yeah, overall looks pretty good, man. Color looks nice. I gotta admit, it's gotta even out a little bit, but overall not bad. And then we got another picture here that we will show of the same lawn, and again, not bad, man. For day 26, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Like I can see you got some spots where it's struggling. And guys, this is a good point. All jokes aside, this is Kenny's lawn. I'm just harassing him because LSU fan, got to do it. So what you're seeing here, you notice how it's growing in, but you've got some areas that it's coming in fairly thick, and then you got some areas where it's a bit thinner and it's lagging behind. Like that is completely normal. That is what happens whenever you decide you're going to grow a lawn from grass seed. So I get email from folk that are doing like a renovation project. They'll say, I put this grass seed out and it's not all growing in. I got some areas that's looking really good and some areas that are not looking as great and they're lagging behind. Completely normal. If you don't want to deal with that, use what I recommend, which is sod. And then you go like what Colin has, right? You go from like this to this overnight, and then you're done. But if not, just patience is going to be the order of the day. From what I'm seeing here, Kenny, that's going to grow in. It's going to look really nice. I mean, that's again, the color looks really nice, man. Looks good. Coming in pretty nicely. So keep it up. Keep us posted as far as how it develops. And again, thank you for the pictures. And all we got to work on. You got great taste in grass. We just got to work on your taste in football teams. But hope springs eternal. All right. Next up is Travis Winston. He's in the live stream here. He says, "Happy Friday to you, Ron, and the rest of the Golf Course Lawn Squad. Hope everyone has a safe weekend." Yeah, definitely, guys. If you're going to be out there, having fun Memorial Day weekend, like around here, there's a lake, like Lake Lanier's not too far away. Be careful. Like just don't, this weekend and 4th of July weekend, you always hear news stories come like Tuesday of, some kind of boating accident or someone got injured. So just be sensible, be careful. There's going to be people out, partying, operating equipment inebriated. So just keep that in mind whenever you are out and about. Just be careful. So again, thanks so much for coming out, Travis. I appreciate the constant support. Jacob Madrid says, "What's up, Stripe Action Gang? I'm tuning in from the spa. LOL. Happy Friday, everyone." Okay. From the spa. Nice. So you're in the spa and you're watching the live stream. Cool. Very, very cool, Jacob. So yeah, glad that, this can be part of your relaxation at the spa, I guess. And next up, we got Gary Kellett Jr. He says, hey, Ron, can you mix Primo Max and the Miramichi Green Pest Control together? That's not one that I have done myself, Gary. I'm inclined to say yes, that it would work, but I've never actually tested that one. Normally when I do spray the pest control, it's typically by itself. I've not added plant growth regulator with it as well to see how well that works. I can test that though. I got to spray Primo here soon, so I could give that a go, and then next week I'll be able to tell you how well it works. I imagine it would be fine. But I've not actually tested it, so maybe we'll see. We'll give that a go and see how it works out. All right, next up is Mike. He says, "If getting ready to top dress my Bermuda, would you recommend plugging bare spots as big as a basketball, or would the Bermuda spreading be sufficient?" It will eventually spread in, but it will fill in faster if you plug it. So if you want it to fill in as quickly as possible, plugging is the way to go. I mean, the size of a basketball is not that big, but you've got a circle this big as a bare spot. If you put 3 or 4 plugs in there, that's going to accelerate how quickly that bare spot fills in. So it's really up to you. How patient do you want to be? In other words, I've had damage from spring dead spot in my lawn. That's been that size and even bigger, and I didn't plug it. What I did is I just used carbonized PN on there, and over the course of a few weeks, it filled in nicely. So it just depends again on how patient you want to be. All right, next up is okay, Kenny. I got your pictures. I got those posted. He says he says sent a picture yesterday about the one about the Tigers beating the Bulldogs in the first round. LOL. Got to support any team in the SEC though. I'd guess it's at 80%. I would say so. It looks pretty good. That looks at about 80% to me. I would agree with that. Kenny, you're going to be good to get out there and start mowing it here soon because it's coming in very nicely. So keep it going. All right, next up we have Hurricanes 47. This is just level with the Soil 3 leveling mix from Superside, and just got my liquid carbon kit. Gonna have the yard looking good thanks to you. Awesome. Love to hear that, Hurricane 47. That Superside leveling mix is great stuff. Like, it looks like the material that Jason used as well is pretty nice too, as far as being really clean. But as far as a easily available, if you're in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, some parts of Tennessee, and some parts of Alabama, as far as like a quality leveling mix, like that one is tough to beat. So that good job on going with that one is what I'm trying to say. James Smith is up next, Mr. Half and Half Chick-fil-A Lemonade. He says, aeration and top dressing done this week. I used my leveling rake to drag around to help getting the grass blade standing, watering every other day, unless Mother Nature thinks it needs more. Sounds great, James. You are well on your way to a speedy recovery based on what you are doing. So nice. I dig it. I dig it. And the next up, we got Off-Road NV saying, hey, Ron, I hope you're having a fun-filled weekend with some grass mowing. Already did that. Already mowed today, man. So today was quite productive from a lawn care perspective. So I had a fun interview this morning. And then because I had everything set up, I said, you know what, why not live stream before I break it all down? So I did a live stream and took some questions from you guys and just hung out for a little bit. And then I not only mowed the lawn, I double cut it. So I mowed it in both directions. And it came out pretty, I actually got a picture. I might be able to get this picture up here. Let me see if I can do this. Now that I've got my phone freed up because we're broadcasting on Instagram directly, I can find this picture of how that I took right before this video that I took right before the show. And this is the lawn. This is about an hour. Well, not now. It's a couple hours old at this point. It's about an hour or so before the show, hour to two before the show. This is what I was working with as far as the double cuts. If you guys want to see that, I can make that happen. So here we go. This was a couple hours ago. Hopefully it loads up. So I first started out with mowing to and from the house, and then I finished up with the lengthwise mow. So you can see stripe action is on point. That diamond checkerboard action. I always like to pause here because the checkerboard looks so sweet when you hit it at an angle like that. But yeah, the lawn got double cut. It got the royal treatment today. Got the royal treatment cut in both directions. So it's looking awesome. We got real rollers in the house, purveyors and suppliers of the legendary Revolution 26. What's going on, Lee? Hopefully you're doing well. It's just Happy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, Lee. So yeah, thanks for coming to hang out and say hi in the live stream. Then next up, we got Brian Hall. He says, hey, Ron, earlier I sent a super chat earlier to this stream. I can't tell if you got it. I don't think I did, Brian. Or if you did, if you sent it, it was before I had this one, before I had the chat box up. So likely YouTube registered it. So if you sent it, I'm sure I'm going to get it, but it's not like in the queue of comments or anything like that. So if you send a super chat, we'll hit you up.
Super chat received.
Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure it is going to be sent to me, but if you do it really early, more than say 15, 20 minutes before the show is going to start, it doesn't end up in the queue of the software that I use for live streaming. So I'm not able to see it. So again, appreciate the love and support. And, thanks so much for that. Lee Farmer is up next. He says, Ron, what's your favorite grass besides Bermuda, and the least favorite grass type? Lee, what, man, why are you trying to get me in trouble? I'm going to give you my favorite. So outside of Bermuda, I really like Bermuda. No, all jokes aside, if I did not have a Bermuda lawn, I would have for warm season grass, I'd have zoysia. I really like how zoysia looks. Zoysia looks pretty good. And here's the thing, I don't know that it would necessarily be Xeon. I know a lot of folks like Xeon and Empire, but I got to tell you, the that compadre zoysia, or the I think El Toro is another name for it. It looks kind of like fine St. Augustine grass, is pretty sweet. It looks nice. I do like that, but it would be a zoysia of some sort if I did not have Bermuda. As far as my least favorite grass type, here's the thing. I'm going to caveat this by saying this is my opinion. If you like your grass, this particular grass type, that's your call. But of the grass types that I would be least likely to put into my lawn, it would more than likely be like St. Augustine. It's probably my least favorite. And again, I know there's a lot of folks in Texas that have St. Augustine, and you guys love your St. Augustine lawns and everything. But to me, it's just not as appealing. Like my aunt that lives in Lamarck had St. Augustine, has St. Augustine grass, and I didn't like it then. I thought it's kind of it's a bit crunchy, which I know some folks like. You can't mow it super short. It looks kind of like a refined crabgrass. I know it's not crabgrass, but it looks kind of like a refined crabgrass. If you could think of like a highbrow crabgrass, it looks like that. So of the grass type, St. Augustine is probably my least favorite, primarily because like mowing it short like you can Bermuda is just not really a thing. As far as my favorite cool season grass, if I had to do a cool season grass and it would actually live, probably like a perennial ryegrass. KBG is nice too, but like a ryegrass, because like the way Augusta National looks, man, in April is just amazing. And also if you get a chance to go over to the Real Rollers Turf Park in like March, when their ryegrass overseed on Bermuda is kicking, it's something magical to behold, man. It is a thing of beauty. It just doesn't work here in Georgia. It gets too hot here. So if I had to have a cool season grass and it would actually work in Georgia, then ryegrass, like year round throughout most of the growing season, then ryegrass is what I would go with. And then Bermuda, my favorite. Zoysia would be a second as far as warm season grass goes, because I'm a real mowing guy, man. I like look, you look at my lawn. I mean, I can't get this kind of a look with a St. Augustine lawn or a fescue lawn. So I would put like St. Augustine and fescue in the same category. Both can look beautiful. Both can look great. I mean, like some of the densest and prettiest grass from like a color standpoint that I've seen has been like fescue. Fescue is a gorgeous grass, but for shortcut turf, which is really my thing, what I enjoy doing, I just really like it. There's not the best fit. So there you go, Lee. Hopefully that helps. I'm probably gonna get a bunch of hate mail and comments behind this saying like, what kind of person are you that you don't like my St. Augustine grass? I'm gonna get all kinds of hate, but I mean, you did ask. So Bermuda is my favorite. Zoysia would be a second, and then any kind of tall grass. That's probably the best way of saying it. I say St. Augustine, but really any grass that is designed to be cut tall is not one that is going to be my first choice, because I like short cut grass. That's more my thing. Jacob Madrid says, looks immaculate, Ron. It's getting there. It's getting there, man. It's not what I would call immaculate just yet, but it is getting there. It's getting there. I am happier with it this year. The new micronutrient is definitely helping. You guys have all commented about how the color looks so much better. And then this year, normally whenever I get out there and I take like a video of my lawn, at some point there's someone in the comments is like, sometimes my trolls are just people that just don't like me or just like to point out like flaws in a lawn. At some point in the season, definitely by now, I'd be like, you'll say, right there's a big patch of comment I can see in your lawn. And this year I have yet to get any of those comments. And I attribute that to adding a new to the tank along with Primo has made a noticeable difference. So overall, a few small tweaks, not like a monumental change, but a few small adjustments to the program has increased the refinement of the lawn. And to your point, I think it looks better this year than it ever has in years past. So we'll keep going, see how it does throughout the rest of the season. Terrence Stamps is up next. He says, Ron, I'm in New England. What should my daily irrigation be, and what does yours look like at this time? So daily irrigation, I really wouldn't recommend like watering your lawn every day, especially you being in New England. Like, it's not super hot there this time of year, and when it comes to to watering, I'm a bigger fan of watering a couple of times per week, 2, 3 times per week, heavier than running irrigation every single day. So as far as my irrigation program, I have programs that are set to run Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this year. Right now, I can tell you for the past couple of weeks, only Wednesday has been set. I think I can actually show you guys. If I can pull up HydroWise here and show you what the current schedule. I think I can make that happen. Let me see here. Zones and start programs. Yeah. So here's it here. If you look, that is, if that focuses, I don't think it's going to focus. It's too, yeah, it's a white background. But if you see like the one green dot, there we go, kind of right there, like that, there's only one lit up. So each one of these circles is a day of the week. And right now only WE or Wednesday is lit up. So I'm only watering like right now 1 day a week because it rains. Like for example, it rained yesterday, it rained today. So it's raining enough that I just haven't had the need to run irrigation regularly at this point. So if you're in New England, if you're getting rainfall regularly, you don't necessarily need to water every day. For warm season grass for Bermuda, about an inch to an inch and a half of water per week is really all it needs to look good. With your cool season grass, you may want to go up a little bit more than that. So maybe, same kind of thing. Maybe you want to be an inch and a half per week. But if you're getting rainfall, then that reduces the amount of water that needs to come from your irrigation system. So I would not set up your irrigation such that, I got it set to, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I just run that no matter what happens. I would say that it's one of those things that you have to kind of jockey and play with depending on how much rainfall you're getting. If you're trying to be efficient with it, right? If you don't want to waste water and just give the lawn what it needs, then look at the weather forecast, look at how much rain you get, and then based on that, make adjustments. So that's what I would tell you, Terrence. I would not just have like a blanket run it every single day or run it every 2 days. And that's the way to do it. You have to look at in totality, how much water the lawn is getting and then adjust your irrigation, your watering accordingly. All right. Next up is Michael Anger. He says, hey, Ron, my lawn is looking great. I put down the 1608, so Humic Max about 2 weeks ago that I purchased from the Golf Course Lawn Store, and it is looking awesome. What is your email so I can send them to you? I think I saw an email from you, Michael. It's ron@golfcourselawn.com. And yeah, Bermuda lawn. And he sent me some pictures. So I can get these on the live stream. I did see your email, but I was like, I didn't have the context around why I'd gotten it. So I didn't want to just post it like that. And overall, yeah, I agree, man. Color looks good. Nice. I like it. I dig it. So this is Michael's lawn. He sent a picture. This is him, Humic Max, 2 weeks ago, and overall looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Color looks good, man. Nice job. And I think he sent me one more picture that I can show to you guys. Looks like he's got a bit of a slope that he's dealing with, but overall, again, color looking good. Can't complain. Nothing wrong with that. Look, you have like one area there, like a little bare spot that you're working on filling in. But overall, the color looks nice and even, and nice work. Nice work. I would say that the fertilizer is working well for you. Keep going with it. Looks good. I like it. Thank you for sending the pictures. All right. Next up is Bruce Nellis. He says, opinion on auto mowers. I think for the right person, they're great. I think if you're someone that doesn't like mowing your grass, or you have a large area that you want to take care of, then auto mowers make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? In other words, if you don't have the time, or mowing your lawn is a chore to you, then I think auto mowers are great. For someone like me that actually enjoys mowing my lawn, like like from a perspective of someone that, like, say, working on cars, someone that likes building engines or whatever, right? Like, they do it just because they enjoy doing it. Like, building your own engine doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, these days, like, even changing your own oil doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But there's some people that just enjoy doing that, and that's like their thing. Like, my thing is mowing my grass. Like, I don't like doing shrubs. I don't like pruning, like dealing with flowers or any of that kind of stuff. I just like mowing grass. I like the way it looks. I like the science and the challenge of trying to grow a great stand of turf grass. Like, that's my thing. So for me, an auto mower, like a robot mowing my lawn, is like taken away from something that I enjoy doing. Now, at some point that might change where I'll go to an auto mower, but an auto mower, I'm sure they're getting better, but an auto mower is not going to lay stripe action like that. I mean, that shows attention to detail. You can feel the love in a lawn that looks like that. An auto mower, it may do some lines, but they're going to look really clinical. They're not going to look as nice and wide and thick like that. You can sense and feel the love in a lawn that looks like that. Like you look at Augusta National, you don't just see a golf course where they just went out and they just, people came together, they put some fertilizer on it and they overseeded it and said, okay, let's have a tournament. You can tell in every aspect of that course a lot of love, like blood, sweat, and tears was put into that course to make it look the way it looks. And that's how I feel about my lawn. And mowing is a big part of that. So for me, at this point, as I get older, maybe I won't, have the energy or desire to mow as much anymore. But for now, I'm not gonna hand that over to a robot mower to do that for me. You know what I mean? Like if I were thinking about how this would happen, it would work out. I would more quickly pay someone to mow my lawn than I would use an auto mower. So it would be like me mowing it myself. That's thing one. The next step would be hiring someone to mow it using like my equipment, using the mower that I want them to cut it with. And then, way down there would be using like an auto mower to cut it, at least for the parts of the lawn that I care about. Like if you've got like a huge property and you've only got, say, that huge property that mostly you don't care about, but that you just want it to stay looking reasonable. I could see using an auto mower for doing like that kind of stuff, and saving the manual mowing yourself for like the areas that are closer to the house where you're going to be entertaining guests and you just kind of want to have that really nice manicured look. So you could use a blend. I could see that. But for me, I enjoy mowing, so not my thing. So I'm a wrong person to ask on. I think they're cool. I think they've got, for the right person, they solve a lot of problems. If you're a really busy person and you don't like mowing your grass, or if you're busy and you don't like mowing your grass, or you don't have time to mow your grass, I think they're a great they're a great tool. But for someone that has the time and also enjoys doing it, like whenever I'm out mowing the lawn, while I look for my next comment here, like if I want to think about something, or I just want to get away and just get out and do some thinking about a problem, I go and mow my grass. Like I do some of my best thinking when I'm out mowing mowing the lawn. Like I do it so much, like I can literally like actually mowing the grass doesn't take many brain cycles. Like that I can almost do, blindfolded. Like it's not, I mean, not literally, but I mean, it's not taxing to mow my lawn is what I'm trying to say. So when I just want to think and relax, or listen to a good podcast, or just think about a problem, I'll get out there and I'll just go mow. So I don't want to turn that over just yet. So I hope that helps, Bruce. Again, I'm sure they're going to get better and better. One day, robot mowers will rival stripe action like this. It'll be as good as this or even better. The lines will be straighter, crisper. But what is it? What did Tom Cruise, what did Maverick say in Top Gun? He says one day, like, everything's going to be all automated and it'll be drones that'll, fight battles and whatnot. One day robots will all mow our lawns, but not today. Not yet. Not quite yet. All right. Next up is Colin. He says, the grass that was there before initially was some sort of tri-blend. The sod I put in is paspalum. So yes, the prep work took the longest for sure, but way worth it in the end for the product I got. I agree. So it's almost like, like when it comes to laying grass seed or sod, like the prep work is where all the magic happens. So, the fact that, we can show everyone here again one more time, show everyone one more again, like what you did here. Like, when you go to that level of, you can tell you really took the time to smooth it out as much as you can, rake it in and get it as nice and even as possible. And when you do that kind of preparation, it's no surprise that the sod lays in really nicely. So it's, again, whenever you decide the top dress, it's not going to take a lot. It's not going to take very much to get that looking really good. So great job, Colin. And again, just keep us posted as far as how it develops. Jared George is up next. He says, Ron, if I'm already real mowing under an inch, do I really need to take it down further before leveling? I understand scalping 3 to 4 inch grass before leveling, but I am mowing 3 days already. It's really your call, Jared. The thing you will find is as the lawn is shorter, the easier it is to spread the material. So an inch isn't bad. Like an inch will be just fine, but 3/4 of an inch, even though it's only a quarter, even though it's a small amount, it does make a difference as far as how easy it is to work the top dressing into the surface. It's funny. I wish I'd saved the video, but if you look at the Lawn Tools YouTube channel, they did like a short, or I think they did a short on this here recently. The thing is either yesterday or the day before, where they actually show this. It took like a clump of like top dressing material of sand, and they put it on a Bermuda lawn, and they took it and they kind of worked it in, and it like just whoop, they smoothed in really nicely. And they took the same material, put it on fescue, and he showed how much more difficult it is to work the material in, how it just kind of clumps up and doesn't really disperse and spread out and go in evenly. The shorter the grass is, the easier it is for that process to happen. So an inch is going to be just fine. You don't need to go a ton shorter. I mean, 3/4 would be easier, but that's okay. Whenever you have grass that's at like 2-3 inches, that is where top dressing becomes a bit of a chore, because the sand tends to get more hung up in the canopy versus getting down into those low spots easier. So at an inch, you're going to be okay. I wouldn't necessarily have to go much lower if that's where you want to maintain the lawn. Rashid Turner says, my soil is around 7.5 to 8.5. What is the quickest way to bring the pH down? I hear North Texas, there's really nothing you can do about it. Yeah, so if your soil is like just naturally more alkaline, I mean, you can throw a sulfur at it and see if that helps. But what you can do with that data, Rashid, is just know that for, like, say for your micronutrient applications, you're going to want to spray those. You using a fertilizer that has iron in it and relying on soil uptake, root uptake for iron is not going to be as efficient as spraying your micronutrients. You know what I mean? So you can use a sulfate. I think I've got one here I can recommend to you. But I mean, if you're 7.5 to 8.5, that's pretty alkaline. So if you decide to go about working to try and bring it down, know that it's not going to be a fast process. It's going to be like multiple years, assuming you can even get it, into the low 7s, high 6s. Like that would be a huge win for you. So this product I'm sending you here, this fast acting sulfur will work to help lower pH. But again, realize that it's not going to be, you're going to apply this and then 3 months later that you're going to be, in the mid 6s. Kind of unlikely for that to happen. But if you want to take on the challenge, this is an option. Lower soil pH. That right there. That's what I would look into. And then Brian Hall says the super chat I sent was for this live stream, not the one earlier today. Yeah. So if it was really early in the day, Brian, I'm certain I'm going to get it. It's just a matter of it's just you did it so early that it wasn't like my software did not pick it up. I might even be able to look here really quickly and see if one came in. You know what? I actually don't see it. Actually, no, yeah, here we do. Yeah, I do see it. Brian Hall, it was for, I see it. It was for $2. Yep. Happy Friday, Ron, and everyone in the live stream. So I do see it here. I'm looking here in my YouTube studio console. I do see the super chat. So yes, I am going to get it. It just was so early in the day that it didn't get picked up by the software. So, let not your heart be trouble. We're going to be good to go. Again, I appreciate all the love and support. I got another super chat here. Let me get down here and grab that really quick from Mr. Simple Cash Offer.
Super chat received.
It says, good evening. I have Kentucky bluegrass and I have a few bare spots I cut twice a week. Will it fill in without overseeding? Yeah, I mean, Kentucky bluegrass can creep, unlike like fescue, which is more of a bunching type grass. It depends on how big the bare spots are. What you might do, Simple Cash Offer, if they are larger, you could transfer plugs from parts of the lawn that are doing well into the areas where you have the bare spots, and that would accelerate how quickly it recovers, how quickly it fills in. So it really depends on how big they are. If it's a smaller one, over the course of the season, it should fill in nicely. If it's larger, transferring plugs would be a good way to go, unless you have a grass seed that you already like, and maybe it's the same one that you used to establish a lawn, then yeah, overseeding would be a way to go as well. But just keep in mind with Kentucky bluegrass, grass seed takes a bit longer to grow in than what you can experience from other grasses. So patience will be the order of the day if you decide to go that route. So again, thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully that gets you on your way to filling in the bare spot in your KBG lawn. All right, now the fun part. Figuring out where I left off, which I think I did. I found it. Here we go. Cool. Yep. Next up is Henry Smith. He says, thanks, Ron, for all the knowledge you share. You're very welcome. I'm glad to share the little bit that I know with you guys as far as getting a better stand of turf grass. And thank you guys for coming to come hang out in the live stream. So it means a lot. So I don't have to talk to myself. Jacob Madrid says, so in Arizona, it's 98 degrees in Phoenix. That's toasty. Next up, we have Oliver Rittam is in the house. He has a question about, I think, brown patch, it looks all. He says, happy Memorial Day weekend run and all. How long does it take for brown patch to recover after applying Headway G? I imagine at least a month, and should nitrogen be focused in that spot for recovery? So keep in mind, like how long recovery takes depends on how long the disease was allowed to run in the lawn. So if you start seeing the beginning of, say, brown patch and you get on it right away, that's going to recover a lot faster than if you let it fester for a couple of weeks and then use a fungicide. So it's difficult to say. From my experience, when I had large patch in my lawn a couple of years ago, when I applied Headway, it didn't get any worse. And then 2 weeks later, I saw a noticeable improvement. So whereas you could see the ring very clearly when I was applying Headway, 2 weeks later, you could barely make it out as the lawn was healing and recovering from the damage. As far as throwing out a bunch of nitrogen, I would not do that. I would wait until the lawn is well on its way to recovery before you really begin feeding the lawn again, or at least feeding that area. And I would not go super heavy. So in other words, don't go out there and throw a bunch of extra nitrogen at that particular spot to try and accelerate how quickly it grows in. So how long it takes to recover, normally 2 to 3 weeks before you start seeing a noticeable improvement, but it's really based on how far gone the damage was before you started addressing it with a fungicide. Because you have to remember, the way fungicide is going to work for you, it's not like you apply a fungicide and it reverses the damage. Fungicide will arrest the spread of whatever disease that you happen to have in your lawn, and then what that's going to do is allow the grass to then recover. So recovery is going to be based on like how quickly does your particular grass grow this time of year. How are you feeding it? How often are you mowing it? Like all those things, how much sunlight is it getting? All those factors are what are going to help determine how quickly the lawn recovers from damage. So in my case, 2 to 3 weeks is what I saw a good result. In your case, it could be that, or it could be longer. It just depends on, like I said, the factors that I'm talking about. When it comes to dealing with an active outbreak of disease, if you did an application of Headway, you're going to want to do another one 14 to 21 days afterward, even if the lawn's looking great. So let's say, we get Thanos snap, and the lawn is looking great. It's living its best life. It's recovered. It's looking a lot better. Still, 14 to 21 days after the initial app, do another one. That way you don't have it, you reduce the chances of there being any kind of relapse and the problem coming back. So one thing, Oliver, and this is for a side, kind of like a side quest based on some emails and comments I've been getting from folks. Like a big part of why I recommend doing a preventative fungicide app in like the beginning of May and then doing another one in June is to head off these types of problems. Because a lot of folks that are watching the live stream, a lot of you guys and gals are really serious about your lawns, like you're real mowing, or you're out there at least regularly mowing your lawn, which does increase the chances of you having disease problems. So doing a preventative app is a good idea. It's a good thing to do. That's why I put that in the program. Like if you look at our calendar here on the Golf Course Lawn Store, if you go to resources and then lawn care schedule, and then you go to monthly application schedule, like the fact that I put a fungicide app in May and June is not just to sell a bunch of fungicide. It's because if you're trying to get a lawn that looks like this, you're likely going to be mowing it a lot. And with that comes especially if you're not maintaining your equipment as well as you should, comes the increased likelihood that you could have disease problems. And I'm just from personal experience, like whenever I had that large patch problem, it started happening in April is when it took place. So now for me, like even though on the store on the schedule, I have you guys applying your fungicide in May and June. The way you would want to modify that is if you had a disease problem in your lawn earlier in the season. So take, for example, me, right? Like I had like a disease problem with large patch in my lawn in April, like mid part of April is when it started really becoming an issue. So for me, I moved that schedule that you see here back a month. So my first fungicide app I did in April, and I did another one here in May, because historically on my lawn, when I've had the disease problem, it happened earlier in the season. So in your case, if you found that on your particular lawn, in your case, you're dealing with some brown patch, and if that happens, early May or maybe late April, in your case, you want to back up by a few weeks when you get your preventative fungicide out, because that way you're going to head off this problem before it becomes a big issue in your lawn. You see what I'm saying? So preventative fungicide apps are a good thing. They make a lot of sense. Like, there's a reason why, like, greens, they do them monthly to keep disease out of them. And for those of us that are real mowing our lawns, it's just inexpensive insurance, because much like damage from insects, once it's there, once you see, like, say you have grubs that are damaging your lawn, once you see grub damage, yes, you can use an insecticide to knock them back, to get rid of them. But recovery is just based on how long it takes the grass to fill back in, how long it takes the root system to reestablish and for the grass to grow in. Same thing with lawn diseases. If you have brown patch or large patch or whatever it is in your lawn, when you see it, yes, you get a fungicide down, that's going to stop it from getting worse. But then recovery is just based on however how long it takes your grass to recover from that. So better to not have the problem in the first place, which is why, like, preventative fungicide apps, I am a huge fan of them. And ever since I started doing them, I haven't had problems with large patch in my lawn. I haven't had problems with disease problems in my lawn. By doing the two earlier in the season, and then in the fall, in October, November, a fungicide app as well. Like, this year, I've had no spring dead spot in my lawn, which has been awesome, right? And then this year also in the springtime, I've had no large patch, no disease problems in my lawn. I've been mowing it as much or more than I normally do. No problems. But the preventative applications are what I would attribute that to. You know what I mean? So, like, in other words, what I'm showing here is not just for show. It's not just to sell products. It's because it's based on what I've experienced, and based from the countless emails that I get from folks around the problems they have in their lawns, and the people that do this, that actually do the preventative app of fungicide app in May and June. Like, I'm not hearing from them. They're not having problems. You know what I mean? So it's just something to consider, not for this season, because it's already too late now, but for next year. If you, in your lawn, you've got, like, maybe you got a journal or something, and you say, in your particular lawn, I had some large patch in, early May, get ahead of it, like 2-3 weeks from that, in front of that, get your fungicide out, and that's going to make this not become a problem for you that you have to deal with. So I hope that helps, Oliver. This is not just for you, it's pretty much for everyone else, because I've gotten emails on this as well too. And then when I email them back, I'm saying, did you put out a fungicide, like, preventively? No, I'm putting one out now that I see the problem. I'm like, well, now we get to wait now, don't we? We get to wait for it to recover versus doing it ahead of time, which would have been, in my opinion, better. So I get it. It's not fun to spend money or put out a product or put out a cure for which you're not necessarily seeing the disease, but it's better, like, the saying that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure definitely rings true when it comes to insect damage in lawns and disease problems in lawn. And it's especially a problem for lawns that are highly maintained, like what we do with real mowing, or even people that are rotary mowing their lawns but are just mowing it a lot. That's when you're more likely to have those kinds of issues. All right, next up is Joe Cox. He says, good evening. How long do I need to wait to apply a Celsius to a freshly seeded lawn, and can I apply Sedgehammer and Celsius together? So yes, you can apply Celsius and Sedgehammer together. And then as far as to how long to wait, I would wait until you're mowing the lawn. So if it's seeded, it's growing in, you're mowing it regularly. If you want to get out there and spot spray a few areas with a selective herbicide, I'd be fine with that. What you don't really want to do, though, Joe, is you got a brand new lawn. I would not want to go out there and blanket spray it, because but for one, you really shouldn't have to do that. If we look at LSU fans' lawn here, that's not his. Let me see if I can find it again. If you look at his lawn, he likely has some weeds in here and there. If he can't pull them, and what I would say for that lawn, don't go out and blanket spray it. Like, once he starts mowing it, you can spot spray a few areas where maybe its weed problem is concentrated, but really on a brand new lawn that, as you're establishing from seed, you really want to limit stressors from a standpoint of herbicide on new turf grass. You just even though it's Bermuda, I imagine it is. You didn't say. I'm guessing it's Bermuda. Even though on a Bermuda lawn, which is still pretty hardy, I would say if you can, 3 months before you start, start throwing herbicides on it. So at least from like blanket sprays. So hope that helps, Joe. Again, that combination, Celsius and Sedgehammer, are both great herbicides. They're excellent from a standpoint of being gentle on the grasses that they are labeled safe for. Even having said that, I wouldn't go out and blanket spray a brand new seeded lawn with Celsius and Sedgehammer. I wouldn't do that. I would selectively use it just in the areas that absolutely need it. And a good time frame to look for is if you're out there mowing it regularly, then if you want to go out and spot spray, then you can go ahead and do that. So hope that helps, sir. Have fun with the new lawn. Keep me posted as far as how it develops. To Trilla. The Trilla in Manila is in. He says, hey, Ron, and happy Friday, everyone. I couldn't be more, I guess, happy with the start of the season. Multiple new products coming to the store and early green up. Only missing is a golf course lawn reel mower. Ew, yeah, I can't see that happening anytime soon. I mean, why would I do that when you've already got, like, you got the Revolution? That's I mean, like Real Rollers did it, but I mean, I got to put a little bit of input into the mower, so into some of the design and some of the stuff that went into it. So if you want to see what I would build, like if I were going to build a real mower, like what Real Rollers, I mean, especially at the price point that you see it, like what the Revolution 26 does is what I would build. Like that's it. The only other thing I would say is like having an interchangeable cartridge system would be nice, but then you're going to talk about a mower that's maybe twice as expensive. It's going to be like a $5,000 mower. It's going to be a lot more money because to do that right is not inexpensive. Like you look, there's a reason why Allets cost what they cost. So, if you want to build a quality commercial grade real mower that you can run hard, and that you can do an interchangeable cartridge system for, it's not going to be inexpensive. So for a mower that is just designed just for cutting, the Revolution 26 is what I would, if I were building one, that's what I would build. So I'm trying to think if there's anything different that I would do to it than what it has. Not a whole lot comes to mind. You know what? If I could do one thing, and this is really not a Revolution thing, it's more a Honda GX 160 thing. If there's a way to put a muffler on it that is quieter, that would be nice. So if I could get a Honda GX 160 to be as quiet as I think it's the Subaru is what I have on my Greensmaster, as the mower that's on my the engine that's on my Greensmaster, that would be the only improvement. Well, I can think of one other thing. So from the engine standpoint, a quieter engine, and then maybe floating handlebars. That would be the only other thing that I think would make it perfect. But then that mower is going to be more expensive. So if they add floating handlebars to the Revolution, it's probably going to cost more than it costs now. So the more stuff you add, like you want a quieter mower, all these features that are more really greens mower type things, the price tends to go up. So for the money, the Rev 26 is where I would be. And as far as the other products in the golf course lawn store, I'm excited, man. Yeah, I mean, we got Velocity PM, so we finally have a solution for our cool season folks that have struggled with Poa annua and Poa trivialis, and in a container that is going to give them a lot of reach. I mean, this 1 pint covers 7.1 acres. So you buy one of these and you're good for several years for controlling and managing Poa in your lawn, which is great. With a new EZ as far as a way to mask or hide Bermuda, common Bermuda in a hybrid lawn, as well as just improve, just to really get better regulation. So even if you only have just a straight hybrid lawn, like even for like 90% of my lawn is hybrid, it looks great, right? But for the small areas where I've got some common here and there, this is helpful. But even for the areas where it's not, this is great. Like the amount of clippings that come off the lawn now, stacking a new and primo is noticeably reduced. And there's really been no negative. Other than it's another product that I'm using, right? But as far as like tip burn, none of that. I mean, as far as any kind of weird interactions or anything weird happening, no, there's literally been no negatives with adding a new to the program. And the fact that you can use it at lower rates, meaning that you're going to get a lot out of this bottle, which is also kind of cool. Something on the topic of velocity, because it was fun. I was talking to one of the new farm reps today about velocity, because one of the questions I had for them was around application rates, and I said, per the label, there is the guidance, there's the label, and there's also New Farm has guidance for, like, say, for homeowners, if you're spraying this with a backpack sprayer. And what they call for in that guidance, that documentation, is 1.5 ounces, sorry, no, 1.5 milliliters, 1.5 milliliters of velocity over 1,000 square feet. That equates to the higher rate, which is 2.25 ounces per acre. And I was talking to the New Farm rep about it, and I said, well, is that the best way to go about it? And he says, well, if you're trying to get rid of POA quickly, like you really want it gone as quickly as possible, that's the way to go. 1.5 milliliters, one app, and then another app 14 to 21 days later. That's going to absolutely devastate and destroy the POA and get it gone. It's going to be gone in a couple of apps. Having said that, if you have a lawn, like say a fescue lawn, and you've got a lot of POA annua in it, and you want to get rid of the POA more gradually versus like smoking it all out in one go, then you could back that rate down. So instead of like 1.5 milliliters per thousand, you could do 1 milliliter per thousand. So, talking to him about it, he says that the rate of 1.5 milliliters per thousand for velocity is correct. And if you're trying to get the fastest results, that is the way to go. The thing that you have to just keep in mind, though, is that many people often have more POA in their lawn than they realize. And at that 1.5 milliliter rate, you are going to nuke the POA. Like it's gonna burn off pretty aggressively over the course of the two applications. And if you've got a lawn that's, say, half POA annua, you're going to have a lawn that's looks like half dead. So if you don't want that, or if you're trying to phase it out slowly where you burn it down and then use some seeding to try and, recover those areas and get grass to grow in, that is where you can back the rate down to get rid of it a little bit more slowly. It's going to take more applications to do so, but it's really on a case-by-case basis as far as how aggressive you want to be about it. So the guidance of 1.5 milliliters that we have on the store is correct. It's also spelled out in their guidance for homeowners, but you can adjust that down slightly if you have a lawn that's highly infested with POA annua and you want to get rid of it a bit more gradually so that you don't have a bunch of dead spots in your lawn. So that's talking to the New Farm rep today, that was a comment and a question I had for them, and we spent some time chatting about it, and I wanted to share that for you guys that are looking at getting velocity, that you can jockey those rates down. You can adjust them down a little bit if you want to slow down how quickly you get rid of POA annua. Don't go up. So 1.5 milliliters per thousand is that's as high as you want to go. You don't want to go, don't decide I'm going to go like double that, but that would be bad. So stick to the application rates, 1.5 milliliters or less. So between 1.5 and 1 is a good spot to go with as far as getting rid of POA triv and POA annua in your cousins and turf grass with velocity. So I wanted to share that with you guys. All right, so we have a super chat. Let me get down here and grab that really quick. This one is from Mr. Cedric G. Cedric G is in the house.
Super chat received.
Thank you so much, Cedric. He says, Big Ron, keep putting down those Augusta National stripes. Turfs up, fert down, sharp action forever. Yeah, man, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Although Augusta, they don't tend to do a lot of stripes at Augusta National. They tend to, they mow just they tend to mow one big swath, with the mowers to where it all looks just this nice, beautiful, gorgeous emerald green. They're not a huge fan of the stripe action for some reason, I guess. I mean, maybe they don't want to detract from it. I imagine I can also see from a standpoint of if you're trying to build a surface that is more consistent, like from tournament golf, I could see how having all the grain laying in one direction would be better than having stripes. Well, I do like stripes. If you think about it, if your ball landed on let me think about this. So if you're sitting on the tee box, if your ball landed on a light stripe, you could actually get a little bit more rollout than if your ball landed on a dark stripe, right? Because you got the grass that's leaning towards you, towards the tee. So that's going to arguably slow the ball down a little bit more versus grass that's laying away from the tee. So maybe that's part of the reason why they do it. Maybe just for one, they don't want stripes, they don't like them, possibly. And also just from a standpoint of just more consistency for tournament golf, which is what Augusta National is designed for. They just make sure it all lays one direction. And that's what I would imagine is part of why they do it the way they do it. Thank you so much for the super chat, Cedric. I think you are our highest contributor of the evening for with that one. So we will put you up here as the show's sponsor. So there you go, sir. Your name in lights for whatever that means to you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really does mean a lot. And I will do my best to put out stripe action that is worthy of Augusta National. Do my best. It's a constant work. Next up, we got Michael Anger. I think I already saw the pictures. I just put those up, Michael. Thank you for sending those out. And then Robert Rainey says, someone got a haircut since the midday stream. Yeah, man, I got to keep it clean for you guys. I can't come in here looking like I don't have any owner. Got to make sure, I got to give you guys my level best. I mean, if I got the lawn looking like this, go out and, put a double cut on the lawn and have it, looking clean. I can, gotta line myself up. Granted, I don't edge myself or anything like that, but I do cut my own. I do cut my own hair, so I like it short. It's easier when you sweat a lot and whatever. It's just easier to deal with it when it's shorter. So good eye, Robert. Good eye. You caught it. You got me. Guilty as charged. I did cut my hair just before the live stream. Get that clean tight cut. So good eye. You did pick up on that. Next up is follow Rob Thomas, which is his Instagram handle. He says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday again. Thanks for the hydrogen suggestion earlier. I bought a bag from you. Thank you so much, Robert. I do appreciate that. Appreciate all the love and support." Next up is Lewis P86. He says, "Should I go with a dealer near me, California trimmer, or roll the dice on getting a better reel mower? Inexperienced, and I've gone from rotary to Scott's 20-inch reel. I need power." So what do you, when you say a better mower? So having a dealer nearby is a plus. That is definitely a bonus. In the California trim, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's a good mower. For what you're gonna pay, I like the Revolution 26 more. You know what I mean? I really do. Like, I think for a sub $3,000 mower, like, that is where your money is best spent, in my opinion. Having said that, having a dealer nearby is pretty cool, right? Because I'm sure if you need service done, they can take care of it. If you break it and you need parts, they can take care of it. With the Revolution, I'm not sure if your rollers is working on a dealer network, but they're going to have parts in stock, so they can obviously ship you parts if you need them. So it's really your call. For a sub $3,000 mower, the Revolution 26 is where I always spend my money, because it approaches and has many of the benefits that Green's mowers have at a substantially reduced price. So that's what I would lean for. I'm not a huge fan of the trimmer. There's people that like trimmers, but it's almost like I was a big fan of True Cuts. I really liked True Cuts until I had a Revolution, until I started, seeing what Lee was putting together with that mower. And now I couldn't, even if you could get parts for True Cuts, which has been kind of a problem these days, I wouldn't recommend one over a Revolution 26. Like, True Cuts now are more expensive than what the Revolution is, and this arguably just not as good of a mower. The California trimmer, great mower, but I would argue that, in my opinion, the Revolution 26 is better for a lot of the reasons that I've already spoken about. So it depends on you. Here's the thing, Lewis. Having said all this, right? When it comes to mowing, the most important thing when it comes to a reel mower is that it is sharp, that it's set up properly, and that it's sharp. So can you get an amazing lawn using a California trimmer? Yes, you absolutely can. And if you got your heart set on a trimmer, don't let me or anyone else tell you or turn you away from that. If that's the mower that you want, that's the mower for you, then go ahead and move forward with it. I would just say that, give the other options like the Rev 26 a look, because it punches well above its weight for what you pay and what you get with that mower. So something to consider. Next up is Tsunami 397. It says, "Hey, evening, Ron. I have a Tiff Top Bermuda and was looking to seed my backyard in a few bad areas. Which do you recommend that would be a close match? I know it's not ideal to seed sod." I wouldn't. There's not any that I recommend these days that are going to blend well with sod. If you have a few bare spots in your backyard, just get a pro plugger or some other plugging tool and transfer plugs from parts of the lawn that are doing well into the areas that are not. Because if you go out there and you get some like Yukon or Monaco, you can look at LSU fans lawn, and his Monaco looks good. The color looks really nice, but that, if we could get closer to it, that blade is going to be a bit thicker than what you're going to get out of a hybrid, like a true hybrid like Tiffway 419 or Tiff Tough. So it's just not going to match. It's not going to look good. And if you do that, once you put that grass seed in, it's really tough to get rid of it. You know what I mean? So I would stay away from that. I really would. In other words, with Tiff Tough, with that one being, a wouldn't say necessarily better regulated, but one to where when you get tiff tough, for the most part, it tends to match a bit better. I would much more quickly do a piece of tiff tough sod than I would going with grass seed. That's what I would do. So if I can't convince you to do the plugging route, then getting a piece of tiff tough sod would be the next thing that I would do. Like long before I would consider any kind of Bermuda grass seed, because you're gonna end up putting another cultivar on your lawn and it's not gonna match, and then you're gonna be mad at it and you're not gonna be able to easily get rid of it. So I would beg you not to go forward with grass seed. Like again, the one that did a pretty good job as far as blending with hybrid was Princess 77 and Arden 15, but they don't exist anymore. So there's not any that I would recommend in good conscience for solving the problem that you're trying to solve. So hope that helps. Sorry, it's not the answer you were looking for, but again, I don't want you to go out and do something that you're likely going to hate in a few months, and then definitely next year when it really begins taking off and starts spreading, and you got two different grass types in your lawn. All right, so next up is Brian Hall. He says, "Hey Ron, I got my MySoil test results. I just emailed them to you. I look forward to your thoughts and the reply. Thanks for your help as always. Let me see if I can get this for you here. I don't see an email from you as yet, Brian. I'm looking really quick. It may have to wait till after the show, sir, because I don't see your email as yet. If you can send it again, make sure you take a good picture of it, or if you take a screenshot and add that. When the show's over, I will answer it here, but I don't see it at the top of my email box, and I don't want to go but I spend a bunch of time like digging through emails. So I will get you an answer tonight if you emailed it to me, but I don't see it in my email at this point. All right, next up is Aaron Guerrero. He says, "Hey Ron, I've been listening to your last lives while working and learning a lot. Great, glad to hear that. This is my first live stream, so I'm glad I can participate in the chat this time. Awesome, happy to have you here. Always great to see first time viewers come in. So hopefully it was more fun to do live than to just listen to after the fact. So I appreciate you taking the time to come in and hang out. Let's see here. So on Instagram, I might be able to get your question here in later. A person has a question about dollar spot, but if you wait till I get down there, I'll add you to the live stream so everyone else can see. Let's see here. Next up is Golf Junkie. Can you explain the benefits of NutriKelp? Yeah. So NutriKelp has 2% carbon in it, which is going to enhance nutrient uptake with anything else that you mix with it. So if you're spraying Primo with it, liquid fertilizers with it, it's going to enhance the uptake. And then the kelp part of NutriKelp has 24% kelp, which is going to help with it's a great additive as far as helping with hardiness of the plant. So whenever you get into drought conditions, having a bit of kelp helps turf grass like deal with drought conditions better than grass that does not have kelp. So it's a great addition, kind of like humic acid is a great addition to as far as inputs to your lawn, and NutriKelp checks both those boxes. From a foliar standpoint, the 2% carbon in it helps accelerate that, and then the kelp helps the grass deal with drought or stressful conditions better than if you didn't do that. And again, the kelp that's in NutriKelp is 24%. Is 24% of it. So if you look at most kelp products, the concentration isn't nearly that high. And also, if you ever get a chance to compare NutriKelp to other kelp offerings, liquid kelp offerings on the market, a lot of those, if you get them and you pour them into like a your measuring cup, like sometimes little chunks and whatever will come out. Like NutriKelp is strained several times over to where you just don't get that. Like it's for any of you guys that have been using the release, like the golf course lawn carbon kit, which consists of 901C, NutriKelp, and Biospectrum, like getting clumping and blockages in your sprayer just really isn't a thing due to the process that Miramichi uses for making those products. So again, big thing with kelp is it helps with stress resistance in the turf, and the what we use in NutriKelp is just it's a high quality product where you're just not going to have problems with spraying it like you can with some other kelp products. So hope that helps, sir. That's part of the reason why I added it to the carbon kit. Like when I was putting together the carbon kit, Miramichi opened up the the catalog, and what I did, they said, well, we offered tons of different products, and I'm, which one do you, which one would you like? And what do you want to put into the carbon kit? And I said, well, I really like the 10% micronized carbon that's in both release 0 and release 901C. So, because the initial carbon kit was just release 0. And then some of you guys wanted 901C, you wanted like a liquid fertilizer. So I extended that to also add 901C as an option. But the big point of the release 0 or 901C was to maximize nutrient uptake. That was the big thing. And then the addition of kelp, NutriKelp, was to help with stress resistance in the turf. Just so from like spring through summer into fall, it's just going to help with the stress resistance of the lawn. So adding kelp was important to me. And then finally, BioSpectrum was to help in increased microbial activity, because with the program that I promote and that I'm a big fan of, that I think has a lot of merit, we spray fungicides, and fungicides have a negative effect on bacteria and the microbes that help break down fertilizer and make them available to the plant. So BioSpectrum was a way to help restore that. So each component of the carbon kit is there for a reason. So hopefully that makes sense to you as to why. I know you only asked about NutriKelp, but I use this as a time to talk about all three parts of it and why all three of them are in there. There's actually a reason for it, not just because I wanted to have three products in the kit instead of just like one or two, right? So hope that helps, Golf Junkie. If you need anything else, let me know. Glycan's Rule is up next. It says, hey, Ron, I sent you an email with my overseeding results. It's been about 10 days. It's been about 10 days. I applied, hey, Ron, I'm not sure. I thought I would give you an update on my top dressing and overseeding results. Do I have a email? I thought I saw one from Glycan's Rule. Yeah, here we go. I do have it. Oh, cool. Oh, look at this. He's sending us pictures of baby Bermuda grass. So this is just baby grass. Baby grass is trying to find its way in the world. So this is what he is working with. I'm not sure if this is not Bermuda. This is ryegrass to me. I think I'm wrong on this. It looks like it's finer blade. It looks like ryegrass. We'll see. But you guys can chime in on what you think it is. But here we go. This is a picture he just sent, and you can see the itty bitty grass seeds starting to come in, starting to fill in there. So very cool. You can see it's growing in pretty nicely, which is cool. So getting some germination. Looks good. Glycan's Rule, thank you for sharing the picture. And I appreciate it. You said you did. You sent an email. He said I did Essential G, Carbonized PN for that area, and then use the Complete 14-7-14 as his fertilizer, and that is producing some good results. You can see he's getting some nice germination there. So good, nice stuff. Keep us posted. Keep sending us pictures so we can see how it recovers. All right. Next up is Josue Araya. He says, hey, I realize when my grass isn't as green as it should be. I've been applying the carbon kit and Nutrizolve once per month, so I'm next to getting not enough nitrogen and iron. Yes, yeah, so if all you're doing is just the carbon kit at the rates that I recommend for spoon feeding, then yeah, that's not really enough. The rates that I recommend, we're doing like 3 ounces per 1,000. And then you're using Nutrizolve, I imagine, at 6 ounces per 1,000. Like if you're doing that once per month, that's really not enough if you're not also using a granular fertilizer along with it. You know what I mean, Josue? It just really isn't. So if you're using a granular fertilizer as well, then that would work fine. If it isn't, then you're gonna have to lift those rates up a bit. What I would recommend is, instead of increasing the rates and spraying only once per month, spray every couple of weeks. And that's gonna work better. So the 3 ounces per 1,000, just spray that every 2 weeks versus say spraying 6 ounces per 1,000 once per month. I think you're gonna like the results you get with that better versus only spraying the liquids once a month. So glad you got to the bottom of it, and now that you know what the problem is, you can correct it and get things better going forward, right? Matt the mailman is up next. He says, hey Ron, sorry I'm late, just finished mowing. Silly question, but why are seed heads frowned upon? Isn't this just free grass seed matching what you have in your lawn, or am I mistaken? Great question, Matt. So a couple of things. Seed heads are frowned upon because from an appearance standpoint, they just don't look good. Like if you have a short cut lawn and you've got like seed heads popping up, they're just kind of unsightly. So that's the big thing, is mainly an appearance thing. And then second, as far as grass seed, like most seed heads or the seed that Bermuda, that hybrid Bermuda puts out is sterile. So even though it's a way for the grass to, to try and grow grass seed and try and, reproduce, for hybrid Bermuda grass, the seed heads are sterile. So they're not really helping the lawn really spread anymore. So the reason why most people want to get rid of them or try and suppress them are because they just don't look good. They're unsightly. So hope that helps, sir. It's a great question. And again, if you need anything else, let me know. And what you'll find for most people, for most lawns anyway, it's a temporary problem. So if you're getting enough nutrient, enough water, it's a couple of weeks, as far as that goes, as far as them, being in the lawn and then, going away. Even in my lawn, I get seed heads. Using a new and Primo does a great job of suppressing them. So that's yet another reason why starting your growth regulator program a bit earlier in the season, like in the April timeframe, is a good idea, because you have the growth regulator in the plant prior to the conditions when seed heads tend to show up. So they're not as big of a deal, right? You don't see them as much as if you wait till now to start using Primo or a Neo. So good point. Good question, Matt. That's not a twist on seed heads that I've ever heard before. Normally the question I get is, why don't I get these in my lawn? Why are they so ugly? And how long will it take to go away? In your case, you're like, hey, they're great, right? There's lots of benefits to them. But one of the benefits you're thinking of, which is like free grass seed, isn't really a benefit, because again, for Bermuda grass anyway, the seed heads are sterile. They're not really promoting more growth. So it's really just that they look ugly to most people, which is why they want them gone. Glycan's Rule is up next. He says, when should I do Essential G and fertilizer and granular? Been about 10 days since top dressing and overseeding. Okay, so what I would say at this point, Glycan's Rule, you've already done those as part of doing your prep work for getting the lawn to overseeding it. Going forward, I would say do them like how I do in my program. So once a month. So once a month, you're going to do Essential G and your granular fertilizer, and then liquids, if you want to do spoon feeding, which is what I recommend, every 2 weeks. So at this point, 4 weeks out from whenever you did this application, which I think was 10 days or so ago, is when you would do your next Essential G app, your next granular fertilizer app, and then you can spoon feed with liquids every 2 weeks if that's the route that you want to take. And that's going to be a good result. You've already got germination, so now we can just transition from the preparation work to getting the lawn to the grass to grow in, to now we're going to start treating it like a lawn that we're going to start maintaining. You can start mowing it, and we can just start feeding it accordingly on that schedule. So granulars once a month, liquids every 2 weeks. All right, Joshua Araya says, I don't know how I got that wrong. It happens, man. It happens. No worries. And next up is MCB. He says, how do you get that brown husk that's at the bottom of the grass sprouts off? Okay, so you're talking about like Bermuda, how the most of it is green, but then near the bottom, the base is more brown. You don't really get rid of that. Like that's just a characteristic of Bermuda. So that's just the way it grows. So if you want to reduce that, what you would do is you can scalp your lawn, you can reduce the height of cut, and then as it grows back in, what grows in is going to be green, but that really only stays that way if you maintain the lawn regularly at that cutting height. So it's like your mowing practices are going to be a big driver as far as how much brown, you see in the lawn in between mowings. One caveat, one exception to that as far as grasses go, is the El Toro zoysia or compadre is it's green further down to the base. So even if you say you neglect your mowing for a little while and you come back and you mow that, you don't get the brown, or it's less, I should say you don't get it, but it's less susceptible to the brown spots or brown patches you'll see in the lawn, in a Bermuda lawn or like even a Xeon lawn, if you go like say a week without mowing it. With the compadre or El Toro, that because it's green lower down, you tend to not get that. But in your case, that's not the question you asked. Mowing, like if you don't like the current height of your lawn and you want it to be green shorter, do a height of cut reset. So lower the height of cut, but then you have to increase your mowing frequency. Meaning if you're at maintain the lawn at say 3/4 of an inch, you got to get out there at least twice a week and mow it to keep it green between mowings. If you don't do that, you're going to be right back where you are now, where you're seeing a lot of brown in the lawn between mowing sessions. So it really comes down to mowing, MCB. And then Kenny says, that's the one. Yep, I get your pictures. We found them. And we showed them off to the world so everyone can see your, is it Monaco? Your Monaco renovation. All right, next up is Brad Larson. He says, hey, Ron, I'm curious about how you decided on your 0.75 inch height of cut. I've been cutting 3/8 to half an inch, and I think I'm seeing too much thatch at that height with less color. Good question, Brad. So here's how we ended up at 3/4 of an inch. So when I first got into reel mowing, when I was doing push reel mowing, I was around an inch, inch and a quarter, which was okay with a push reel mower. And I slowly worked my way down to 3/4 of an inch, but that with a push reel mower is not great. It's not a lot of fun. So when I finally got a powered reel mower, I did a season or so at 3/4 of an inch. And then when I got my Greens Master, I said, you know what, I'm in the big leagues now. I'm a big boy, I'm big man. Guys that really are about mowing their grass or serious about reel mowing, they don't mow it like 3/4 of an inch, they mow it half an inch or lower. That's what a reel mower or greens mower is designed for. So that's what I'm going to do. So I had a year where I set the bench height of the mower to 0.45 inches. So meaning it was cutting probably a little bit shorter than that. And what I found is kind of what you experienced, is that the color was not as good. The stripes were not as good. You had to mow a lot more frequently, starting in June, you're out there mowing pretty much every day. What I found is that you had to mow every 36 hours. So I could mow today in the morning, and then I could mow in the afternoon tomorrow, and that would work okay. And then I could get close to skipping that following day, and then the following morning I would mow again. So it's really like a 36-hour windows which you're on for keeping it green between mowings. But because most people can't vary their schedule of mowing in the morning or in the afternoon, it's pretty much you got to mow the grass every day if you want it to stay looking nice between mowings. You're more likely to have disease problems when you're maintaining the lawn at those heights of cut. It's more wear and tear on your equipment because you're mowing it every day versus a couple times or a few times per week. So in my mind, it just wasn't worth the squeeze. The color's not as good, stripe action is not as good, stripes don't last as long. So 3/4 of an inch is, I jokingly say 3/4 of an inch is the height of cut that you should go with if you want to get the benefits of reel mowing without having it mess up your life, right? To where you're I really don't want to go out of town for a weekend because if I go out of town, when I come back, I'm gonna have a mess on my hands, or I can't, in other words, when you start getting to the heights you're talking about, like 3/8 to half an inch, if you're really serious about your lawn, the amount of time you're away from the lawn starts becoming a factor as in your planning. You know what I mean? You can't be gone for a week at a time and then and just do that. You have a mess on your hands. So for those reasons, and because most people just aren't able to do it successfully, 3/4 of an inch, in my opinion, just makes a lot more sense. You know what I mean? It's just better. It's just better. The lawn looks better. My lawn now, right now, it's between 5/8 and 3/4. So if you're looking at this now, this height of cut, that is between hovering between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch. And I think that looks really good. The color is great. Stripe action is great. If I cut that at half an inch, it wouldn't look as good. I mean, the color would be more dull. And the cool thing, because I was actually talking to someone about this on the live stream earlier today at lunchtime. The one cool thing about mowing at that height, right? The height of cut that you're at, 3/8 to half an inch, is that if you have a golf ball and you take it and you throw it out on the lawn, it is really cool to watch it release and roll out on the lawn like it would on a fairway. Because, when you're at 3/8 to half an inch, you're really more at the heights that fairways are cut at, which is really cool. But outside of that, that's the only real benefit of it. The novelty goes away once you've done that a couple of times, and then you're left with all the work that goes with maintaining a lawn at those cutting heights. So for me, it's just not worth it. So that's a long answer around how I ended up at 3/4 of an inch at 0.75. And today, this year, I'm hovering between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch. And that's what I recommend for most people. I think that is the sweet spot for reel mowing, for getting that amazing appearance while not having reel mowing ruin your life. And he says, and I'm curious how you about your 0.75 height of cut. Do you measure that at the bed knife or at the grass? At the bed knife. At the bed knife. I've been at 3/8 to half an inch at the bed knife, and I think I'm seeing too much thatch that's affecting color. So yes, if you have set the bench height to 3/8, so to 0.38, then you're likely cutting a little bit lower than that when you're actually on the lawn. So it's just again, as you cut shorter and shorter, to a guy that I know who's a golf superintendent. I used to say, the lower you go, the more you have to mow. He says, Ron, a more correct way of saying that is the lower you go, the more you have to do. So if you're going to be keeping the lawn at like under half an inch, then verticutting, monthly is a thing. Definitely going to be a thing. Whereas for me, it's kind of optional. I could get away with doing it a couple times in the season. If you're at those heights, and again, you want the lawn looking its best, great color all throughout the between mowings, then regular verticutting is going to be a thing. You're going to be using fungicides more frequently than I'm going to be using fungicides. So it's just a lot more that goes into it that I just don't think is worth it because the turf doesn't look as good. The color's not as good. So hopefully I've convinced you that it's just that this is not the way. But if you want to try it out for a season, by all means, I think that everyone deserves the right to go out and feel the pain for themselves. And then next year you'll come back enlightened and be like, you know what? 5/8.75 is the way to go. So give it a shot this year and see how you feel about it, and then we can chat next year about it over a lemonade, and you can come to the same conclusion that I did. All right, Glycan's Rule is up next. He says, at Real Rollers, I just got my roller from you guys. I love it. So I'm not sure if Lee or the guys are still in the live stream, but yep, I'm sure they'd be happy to hear that. And next up is we'll pass on that. Next up is Michael Ramos. So Jimmy Miller had a comment. He says, "Do you ever notice like going to like a landscape store is like going to a grocery store hungry? And you go in for one thing and you come back with a whole bunch of other stuff." Yeah, I have seen that. I do get that. You go in there, it's like almost like going into Costco. Like, I mean, I would, maybe I'm not the only one. Has anyone ever gone into Costco and successfully left a Costco or like a Sam's spending like less than $50? Like, is it even possible? I think what happens if you go in there and you go, they check your receipt at the door, they see less than 50, they're like, oh, you got to lack a commitment. Go back in there and get some more stuff. So it's kind of like that when you go into if you're a lawn nerd and you go into a landscape store, I imagine the same kind of thing. While I'm here, I may as well get some fertilizer, get some this, get a new rake. My rake's getting kind of old. You end up walking out with a whole bunch of stuff. So I get it. Michael Raymond is up next. He says, I aerated today. Plugs were cleared. Went heavy on Carbon Pro G. Applied Miramichi Pest Control. Complete 14714. Going down in the morning, then sand, level, water, multiple beverages, and sleep. Don't forget Advil. You may need that after you're done, but it'll be worth it. It says, happy Friday. Sounds like a plan. And Colin says, definitely going to do some top dressing on the afterwards once you're done. It's a good idea. Then Archie Amos is up next. He says, good evening, young man. Sorry for my late entry. My question is about your new growth regulator. Does it come in a smaller amount, a lesser amount, seeing as how some of us are poor, LOL? No, it does not, but I did pass that feedback on to New Farm when I spoke to them. Like, they were asking me, we had a conversation about growth regulators, and they're saying, if you could make a magic wand, like what would you recommend to us? I says, well, while like I can appreciate this, right? Like, 160,000 square feet of coverage is great. And for a lawn my size, is I'll go through this, I will use it up. For homeowners, if you can take a cue out of Syngenta's playbook and package it in something smaller. I don't know that 4 ounces is quite enough for a new because you use more of it. But if you could package a new in like a pint or in like 8 ounces, 8 to 16 ounces, I think that's going to be more palatable for residential owners, for homeowners. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens. But I already did pass that feedback on to them, Archie, as far as like offering it in a smaller amount. It's not going to be this season, because it takes forever to make these kind of things happen. But I did already pass it on to them as far as offering a new easy in a smaller amount. So next up is James Smith. He says, aren't automowers controlled by Skynet? They might be. And then next up is Ryan. He says, hey, Ron, hope your lawn care went well this afternoon. It did. I double cut it, man. I'll even show you here. I'll look for the next comment. This is the video from this afternoon. This is the double cut. So I cut it in 2 directions. One wasn't enough for me, so I had to get out there and do it twice. So it's looking pretty good in my opinion. And yeah, hopefully you guys would agree. All right, next up is the notorious AC. He says, good evening, Ron. My question is this. I've been using a rotary mower the past year on my 419 and cutting it at 1.5 inches. Best way to successfully transition to real mowing, what height of cut? So what I would say, Notorious, is if your real mower will cut at 1.5 inches, start there and begin working your way down. So, if you want to maintain the green and keep the color, you can start at that height of cut that you've been cutting with your rotary and bring the height of cut down. What you're going to find is even at the same height of cut with a real mower, the turf is going to look better. Like the cut's going to look better even at the same height of cut, even if you maintain that. And then as far as a height of cut to shoot for as a goal, I think 0.75 is a great goal for Bermuda grass for real mowing. If you want to work your way down over time to get to that, that's a good way to preserve color while you do so. Or if you really don't care and you're like, hey, I want to get down to 0.75 even sooner, you can scalp, do a mild scalp where you cut the lawn down to say just over half an inch, and then set the mower to 3/4 of an inch and just maintain it there throughout the rest of the season. So it just really depends on how quickly you want to get the lawn down to your desired height of cut. But 0.75 inches is what I would recommend. So, and again, congrats on going to a real mower, man. We can clap it up for you. You didn't say what kind of hardware you're working with, but we can still give you some dap. Congrats on getting some new equipment. And again, just go slow. Don't be in a rush to get down to go from where you are to too low too quickly, because again, it's with lower mowing heights comes more mowing, like more frequent mowing, and it's just more work. So just slowly step your way down if you're not quite sure. So the Notorious, this is kind of cool. We can get the Instagram folks in here now, which is kind of cool. You guys are now part of the show, right? Took a while to make this happen, but it's finally working. Munir Mahid is up next. He says, hey Ron, for a second year in a row, in spite of all my pre-emergent apps and the money on Anderson's Barricade, I continue to get the occasional broadleaf nutsedge pops up here and there. Yeah, so I could be wrong on this, but I don't believe prodiamine is labeled to keep nutsedge out of your lawn, so that could be part of your problem. I think if you want control for sedges, I think there's a pre-emergent called I think Pennant Magnum. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think Pennant Magnum will do sedges, but I don't believe prodiamine has very good control for sedges, for preventing them. So Barricade is working, and as far as the occasional broadleafs, that is normal. Like the pre-emergent doesn't mean zero weeds; it means a huge reduction in weeds. You should see, you're not going to have a ton of weeds in your lawn if you use pre-emergent versus not using any. But especially along like high traffic areas or near like sidewalks or driveways or any areas where the soil gets disturbed a lot, you will see a bit of breakthrough there, but that's going to be more the exception rather than the rule if you use pre-emergent. So I would not say that the money that you used with Barricade was wasted. I can assure you it wasn't. I mean, if you want to find out, this is going to be a painful way to go about it, but just don't use pre-emergent next year and see what happens. And I can guarantee you're going to have a whole lot more weeds in your lawn of all types than you do now. So just realize pre-emergent isn't a silver bullet, but it does the heavy lifting as far as keeping or substantially reducing the amount of weeds that you have to deal with in your lawn. So it's just what you're experiencing is completely normal, is what I would say. And it sounds like it's working pretty well. So to your point, the occasional breakthrough, that's to be expected with pre-emergents. They're not 100%. Uncle Earl Heating is here. He says, good evening, Ron. Uncle Earl here from Minnesota. You were on the live stream earlier today, too. He says, I have a couple of old reel mowers that I'm bringing back to life, a 26 and a 72-inch Jacobson. Nice. Very cool, man. Once you get them all restored, if you want to send a picture, we'll show everybody, your restoration work. So, yeah, that sounds like a fun project. Next up is Munir Mahid. He says, can I back it with a Spectacle Flow application now? I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. I would use Spectacle in the fall. Because, again, Munir, the idea is that like pre-emergent doesn't mean 100% no weeds. If you use Spectacle in the fall at the correct rates and you water it in, you're going to see a dramatic reduction in the amount of like Poa annua that you're dealing with for one, but then all weeds in general, like clover, henbit, like any of those that you see like that tend to grow when temperatures are cooler, you're going to see a lot less of that with something like Spectacle than if you were to use something like, say, prodiamine in the fall. But in the springtime, I'm a fan of using prodiamine or using Dimension as your spring pre-emergent. So to answer your question, no, I would not use Spectacle Flow now. Like what you're experiencing sounds normal to me because you use the word occasional, like a little bit of breakthrough here and there. That sounds about right. The thing you might check is, check your application rates. And if whenever you applied barricade, just make sure that you applied enough of it at the correct rate so that you watered it in, that your application was also good. If you use a granular, make sure that your overlaps are such that you got good coverage. And then it's just, again, it's not 100%. It's it does a really good job. It's way better than not using pre-emergent, but putting out pre-emergent and then saying I will have 0 weeds in my lawn is kind of an unreasonable expectation. Like I did spectacle flow on my lawn this year, and I think I picked like 2 or 3 little clumps of Poa annua out of my entire lawn of over 12,000 square feet, and 2 of the 3 were like bordering my neighbor that I don't think their service used spectacle on it, so in their lawn. So was it 100% perfect? No. Was it did it produce results that I'm happy with? Absolutely. Like I can definitely get out there and pull, 2 or 3 a weed here and there. That's I'm good with that. That's no problem at all. So pre-emergents are a tool to help to substantially reduce weed pressure, and it sounds like in your case it's working. Again, I would not apply spectacle flow this time of year. Ryan Contento says, thoughts on applying ironite and a 1600 fertilizer all on the same day if they're all needed for my centipede grass. Yeah, as long as you stick to the correct rates, it should be fine. If your soil test results reveal that you don't need phosphorus or potassium and you just want to use a straight nitrogen fertilizer, you could do that. If you want to add some iron, you could also do that as well too. What I would say is be careful with ironite, because a lot of folks tend to go overboard with that. They think, more is better. If I just throw more down, it's going to get greener and greener and greener. So like everything else you put on your lawn, like stick to the application rate. So whatever the rate on the fertilizer you're using calls for, use that. So if it's like 3 pounds per thousand or 5 pounds per thousand or whatever it is, apply it at those rates. And whatever the rate is for ironite, I'm not sure because I don't really use ironite on my lawn. Whatever the rates are, stick to that and you should get a good result. All right, I am the ultimate hashtag. Says a question, says, so cutting 2 to 3 times a week increases disease possibilities. It can, yes, if you're using especially equipment that is not sharp, you do increase the likelihood of you potentially having problems with lawn disease, because you got to think about it, right? Every time you mow your lawn, you're injuring the grass. So if you're not really good about making sure your equipment is sharp and you get out there and you cut it with like not sharp equipment, you're more tearing at it, which is gonna just makes the lawn more susceptible to disease problems. It's not like necessarily mowing the act of mowing itself is going to cause disease problems. It's just that if you're mowing frequently and you're not keeping up with your equipment to make sure that it's sharp and that it's well adjusted to where you're always getting a nice clean cut, then yes, you do increase the likelihood that you will have disease problems in your lawn. Kind of like greens. The reason why fungicides are part of what they use on greens pretty much monthly is because greens are the part of the golf course that get cut more than anything else, right? They get the greens, the tee boxes that get cut really frequently, greens every day, and then tee boxes also get cut fairly frequently as well too. So that's why fungicide becomes more of a thing or more of a requirement for a green than like say a fairway, and that is due to the mowing frequency. It's cut shorter, being stressed more, and that regular injury just increases the likelihood that you're going to have a disease problem. And you said dollar spot. Yeah. I mean, you can get dollar spot. Dollar spot though typically isn't a problem, or not a problem that really becomes an issue on Bermuda if it's being fed enough nitrogen. So if you look at a Bermuda lawn in the morning, you might see like little cobwebs, or what look like little cobwebs on the lawn. That could be the beginnings of dollar spot. But if the lawn is getting enough nitrogen, if it's being fed enough nutrient, then on Bermuda anyway, it typically doesn't turn into too much of anything. But yes, if you are mowing regularly, especially at lower heights, and you're not maintaining your equipment as well as you should be, you increase the likelihood of you having disease problems. And a way to just prevent that from becoming a headache is to use a preventative fungicide. So hope that helps. I'm the ultimate hashtag. Next up, we have Joel Bryan. He says, about to sand level and aerate, do you recommend using pre-emergent after leveling? I also have some fungus. Do I need to spray before leveling? I don't typically use pre-emergent after leveling. You can if you want to, but it's not something that I do. I don't, because typically I haven't had a lot of problems with weed outbreaks after a leveling job to where I felt like, adding pre-emergent to everything else I'm already doing would become necessary. And as far as if you have some disease, do you spray before leveling? Yeah, I would. I would. I would get the fungicide down prior to leveling. I absolutely would do that. Let's see here. Corey says, let's see here. What are your thoughts on gypsum on red clay and negate on Poa annua? So if you're using gypsum to help relieve compaction in clay, I mean, I think it helps some, but better than gypsum is to just core aerate your lawn. Like nothing beats hollow tine aeration to help relieve compaction. So if you got like a lot of red clay, I would you can use gypsum, that's fine, but I would core aerate and then really top dress after that. And if you want to add some gypsum as well, by all means, go for it. As far as negate for Poa annua, if you're treating a large area, then sure, negate's a good product. It's not necessarily too expensive as far as controlling Poa annua, but if you're using it per the way it's designed to be used per the label, you're supposed to mix it all at once. So which is why I don't really talk about it or recommend it, because for most people, they don't have an acre-sized lawn that they're trying to spray this stuff all at once. So that's why I don't really recommend negate. But as far as a herbicide that works well against Poa annua, negate is a good one. It does work well. It's just that the way it's designed to be used doesn't really work well for homeowners. So hope that helps, Corey. Two good questions. And again, if you need anything else, don't hesitate to ping me. Let me know. But yeah, for relieving compaction in a clay lawn, core aeration is much better than just using gypsum. I mean, applying gypsum is easier, but core aeration is going to work better. So if you can core aerate and then top dress with a nice sand compost blend, that's going to do a lot for your drainage problems that you tend to have with heavy clay. It's just going to improve the soil profile. It's just going to need a lot of benefits of doing that versus just putting gypsum down and hoping for the best. All right, let's up. It says, Michael Raymond says, it's a great question. He says, when will the 22-3 come into play when following your schedule? Will this replace a granular? It would not. So what the 22-3, which one is it? What this would replace is, let's say you don't want to use release 901C. You want you want more nitrogen, or you also want, let's say you wanted to do the release 0 carbon kit and not necessarily have to spray a micronutrient as well, then this is a good option, because this has all 3 macros, and you also get a bit of iron in this, whereas release 901C does not have that. So if you were going to use this for spoon feeding, you would do the release 0 carbon kit, not 901C. You would do the release 0 carbon kit, and then use and add the golf course lawn 22-3 to the as your liquid fertilizer. So that's how it would change. You would swap out release 901C, use release 0, and then use this. That's how that would work. And you would still spray it again every 2 weeks at 6 ounces per thousand. In this case, for this one, 6 ounces per thousand at lower rates. So hope that helps, Michael. And then next up is Lewis P. So I was thinking about the Revolution 26, but I'm in North Carolina. I think they will ship it there. They'll ship it there, or they'll bring it to you. So yeah, there's no problem. And then MW says, is there a replacement for Arden 15? Not that I'm aware of. No, there's not. And then next up is Golf Castle. It says, I recently treated my ultra Bermuda grass with propiconazole and his green with propiconazole. While I'm removing dew in the morning, I'm still seeing some mycelium. If this is present, does that mean I should retreat? Not necessarily. Like, what interval are you spraying Golf Castle? If you're using propiconazole, every 3 weeks, at least once a month, that could work. But I would rotate it. I wouldn't use only propiconazole. Like I would rotate to different fungicides. So if you are using propiconazole, you could use you could swap that out for Clary's, like 336F. Like that's a different group than propiconazole is. So you could do like 2 propiconazole apps and then 2 Clary's apps, and so you can just kind of alternate back and forth with them. That's going to help prevent like resistance problems. But yeah, you seeing some mycelium doesn't necessarily mean you've got a disease problem that you need to go out there again. But again, I would not only use propiconazole as the only fungicide you run on your greens throughout the entire season. I would rotate them. So hopefully that helps. Danny says, what carrier rate do you recommend for per 1,000 square feet when spraying? I guess I think you mean ammonium sulfate. I have some bare spots that I'm trying to fill in before I start PGR this season, 4,000 square foot lawn, and used to doing 1 gallon per 1,000, but hearing 2 gallons per 1,000 is best. So 1 gallon per 1,000 is what I like if you are spraying if you're doing foliar apps. Like that's what I've done for years. I get great results doing that. So 1 gallon per 1,000 is what I would say. 2 gallons per 1,000 is a great choice if you are spraying a product that needs to get into the soil. So you want to use a little bit more carrier, that would be fine. So if you're spraying pre-emergent, insecticide, fungicide, again, I spray those at 1 gallon per 1,000 too. I just run irrigation afterwards. But and for those types of products, I can see more of a case for using 2 gallons per. The challenge you can run into, Danny, is if your spray equipment is properly calibrated and your technique is good, 1 gallon per 1,000 does a good job covering 1,000 square feet. Once you get into 2 gallons per 1,000, you're approaching the point where even if you're using a fine spray tip, that you're going to start getting runoff. And if you're spraying products that are designed for foliar uptake, like growth regulator, like Primo Max, you're essentially wasting product. Like in an ideal world, you'd want to completely coat the leaf with the grass and not really have any runoff. You want it to pretty much just stay on the leaf of the plant and not get it to the point where it's so wet that the product is running off of it and just going into the soil, because essentially then you're wasting product, at least as far as growth regulator goes, like Primo or Anil. So for that reason, 1 gallon per 1,000 is my preferred. You know what I mean? Again, it works. If your technique is good, 1 gallon per 1,000 is absolutely fine. So I hope that helps. And then next up is, he says, what do you know about Dalcanil Ultrex? My local golf course swears by it. If its rate is 5 ounces per 1,000 square feet, I'm mixing in a 3-gallon tank. Should I weigh the Dalcanil or put it in a measuring cup? I check the label. A couple things. One, I mean, you're using it on a green, but check to make sure, first of all, that is labeled for use on residential greens, right? So that's thing one. Assuming it is, I'm not really familiar with that one. So whatever the label calls for, if it's a liquid, you will see it will say use this many fluid ounces. So it'll say FLOZ. So that's that for a product that's a liquid. Fluid ounces is going to be the designation as far as how to use it. It's not really measured out by like physical weight. It's measured out by volume. Is probably a better way of saying it. So whatever the rate set, whatever the label says, is what you would do. So now if what you're talking about comes like in a water dispersible granule, and again, I'm not familiar with this product, so it might be like a WDG. So let's say it comes in a granular form, and then you get it suspended in water, and it says this many ounces in water. So it's a dry product. In that case, yes, you would take a cup, or even use something like this, obviously with no water in it. Put something like this on a scale, zero the scale, like tear the scale, and then add the appropriate amount of product, and then whatever the directions are for mixing it, getting it suspended, and then pouring that into your sprayer and putting it out. So it depends on whether it's a dry product. If it's a dry product, then a scale is appropriate, or if it comes with a measuring cup, use that. If it's a liquid product, then we're measuring by volume, and that's where like a measuring cup or a syringe is the way you're going to want to go about measuring out the product. So hope that helps, Golf Castle. And again, I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer because I'm not really familiar with that fungicide. All right. Next up, we got a super chat. This one is from Get to Liz. Thank you so much, Liz.
Super chat received.
She says 2 neighbors, not one, but 2 neighbors, different neighbors, complimented my Bermuda lawn today and asked my secret to weed control. Of course, I directed them to your name and YouTube to help them, but wow, recognition, right? You like this, you put it off your chest, you're like, yeah, I got this. She says, thank you for your awesomeness, Ron. You are very welcome. I'm glad to hear that. You're getting compliments. You're setting the standard on your street, which is awesome. And you're doing the work. You know what I mean? I may have given you some guidance, but really you actually did something with it, right? That's the thing. I could say in the live stream all the time, you can watch the live streams and watch the content until you're blue in the face, but unless you actually get out there and do the work, it's not going to happen. So while I appreciate you giving me kudos, really it's the fact that you consistently worked on your lawn and got it to where it is, to the point where neighbors are saying, what are you doing? Girl, tell me, what are you doing? How do you make it look like this? Is your grass real? what kind of grass? You know, the next one that you're going to get that's even better is when they come by and they say, what kind of grass do you have in your lawn? I'll be like, it's the same kind of grass that's in your lawn. It's just, I just do different things to it, but it's the same grass. Then that's even better, but that's coming eventually. Okay, next up we have, we already got Danny's comment and the Ultrix comment and and then Jared says, Ron, I have a couple of spots in my lawn that just seem patchy and scraggly looking. Okay, I thought that might be possible ant damage. What are the signs of damage versus something else? If there's ants present, if there's ants present, then it could be ant damage. But I mean, there's a whole lot of things that can cause a lawn to get patchy or scraggly, like infrequent mowing can do it. If there's some kind of debris or trash underneath the surface, that can cause the lawn to struggle, making it look, technical term, patchy or scraggly. Could be ants too, but outside of actually seeing them, I wouldn't be too quick to put the blame on ants. So if you see them, then yes, then that could be it. And then you can use an insecticide to get rid of them. But if you don't have reason to think that it's ants, then I would look elsewhere personally. Let's see. Miguel Milano says, hey, Ron, I have a variety of weeds on my Bermuda. Today I applied prodiamine a little late and Celsius to kill some spotted spurge and others. When should I apply Celsius again? So depending on how good a job you did applying it, Miguel, you may not have to apply it again. It might be, single application, and that might knock out the spurge, and you may not have to use it again this season. What I tell most people is to give it at least 3 weeks between applications. So if you put out Celsius or you sprayed Celsius, give it, within 10 to 14 days, you should start seeing a response in the weed you're targeting. And then within 3 weeks, it should die off nicely. So just give it time. Don't be in a rush to be like, oh, I sprayed it. And then, 2 days later, it's not dead yet. It doesn't work that way. So you gotta be patient with it. I would not look at the weeds for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, if you can assess and be like, it's mostly dead, but I've got some areas where maybe another application will get rid of it. And then you can go back again if need be. But it should not be something that you're constantly using on the lawn is what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't be something that's like a constant or regular thing. All right. Next up is Golf Castle. He says, just email some pictures of my green at night. Install some stadium lights. Stadium lights, you say? Do tell. You know what? I couldn't find. You didn't have your name here, but literally his subject line is, or I'm assuming it was a he. Subject line is "My baby at night." All right, so we'll show you guys that. Let me get his picture here of his. He said I installed stadium lights. That's pretty legit, man. I gotta admit, that's another level of dedication. He got stadium lights on the lawn, on the green. That looks pretty sweet. Let me see if I got a better. Oh, that's a good picture. We got to show the folks that one. That is a nice one. Oh man, you took a picture with an iPhone. I got to convert this really quick to. You're making my life harder. Hang on, give me 1 second. I can do this. I can make this work. Let's export and save as a JPEG, and away we go. That should do it. All right. So yeah, but this looks nice, man. Look at you. You even put a bunker in there. Plus 10 points for that. So this is his lawn at night, stadium lighting, showing off his green with the bunker for extra points. So pretty nice. Very nice, Golf Castle. We'll give you some dap for that. We'll clap it up. Looks nice. I can tell you put a lot of work into it, and that comes out, again, great job. Great job. Looks pretty sweet. I'm a lot of respect for you as far as maintaining an actual green. It's not something that I've mustered up the courage to be able to do myself, because it's just another, I'm pretty committed. Having a green is another level of commitment, and I'm not quite there yet. Let's see. Next up is Delray Harris. He says, my Kentucky bluegrass is amazing, Ron. You should see it. I always keep my tall fescue at golf course heights. You keep it taller? Cool. That works. Sure. And then Golf Castle says, I planted Tiff-Tuff sprigs 3 weeks ago for the apron. It's filling in nicely. I'm at, 0.125 high to cut on the Ultra Dwarf and 2 inches on the fescue. Nice. So looks pretty good. Nice. Next up was Oliver. He has a question about aerators. He says, Ron, in your past experience, how was the Ryan aerator versus the Klassen? Is one better than the other? I'm looking to rent one, and I've used the Ryan, but I was curious about the Klassen. They both, I mean, neither one really stood out too much. I mean, the Ryan, the one that I had a tank where you could add water to it to increase the weight. I like that. I think the Klassen you could do the same thing, but it was like there was like a plug in the roller or something for it. So there wasn't. I don't think any either one had a clear advantage from what I can remember. Like thinking about both of them, neither one stood out as like, yeah, this one is way better than the other one. So I think the last time whenever Alex did me the favor of aerating the front lawn, I believe he used Orion and it worked great. So either one, whichever one's cheaper and you can get your hands on, and whichever one is in better shape, that's the one you should get. I think either one is going to produce a good result for you, Oliver. I don't think there's a huge difference between the two units. B Butcher says, I have a tall fescue lawn at 4 inches now. Is that too high going into summer? I don't think so. I mean, fescue likes to be cut taller. And if it looks good at that height, I don't see the reason. Or so I guess if you're asking if you should reduce the height of cut with it going into summer, I wouldn't. I mean, if it looks good at this height of cut, I would just maintain it there, right? I wouldn't. If anything, you letting it get taller would be okay, but going shorter, I wouldn't necessarily do that with your fescue lawn as we get into the hotter part of the year. If it looks good where you're at, I would leave it there. All right. Uncle Earl says, what range of cut or height of cut would you recommend for Kentucky bluegrass? It depends on what you're using to cut it. If you have a real mower, you can 3/4 of an inch will look great, depending on the cultivar you're using. And if you got a rotary, 1.5 to 2 inches will also look nice. So depend on what you're working with. If you got a real mower, you can go shorter. If you have a rotary mower, you're going to be mowing it a bit taller. So either, really depends on your equipment. And then Simi Singh, let me see here. What is question? He says, "Hey Ron, I have a front yard that has a slope, and I aerated for the first time." He says, and that man, it put a hurting on you. It'll do it. I could only aerate about half my lawn. Any tips for sloped lawns? Yeah. So on a sloped lawn, diagonally. So the same recommendation I have for mowing a sloped lawn is the same way I would aerate a sloped lawn. And what I have here is a video on core aeration. And you know what I'll do is I'll send you the blog post. How about that? On the Golf Course Lawn Store, we have a blog post on core aeration. And in said blog post, there's a video that I'm trying to find on core aeration. So just go look at this blog post, and in that, the video's embedded within there, so you can watch it. And I actually show the technique that I use for aerating a sloped lawn that will make your life a little less bad. The long short of it is, if you want the quick answer, is going up and down is the worst way to go. So if this is your sloped lawn, so this soil test gets your sloped lawn, what you don't want to do is to go straight up and then straight down. Like that is going to be a nightmare. For one, it's going to try and run away from you when you're going downhill. And then when you're trying to go uphill, it's going to dig in, it's going to pop a wheelie, and it's going to kind of do this big, like this dolphin, this porpoising thing as you go up. It's kind of a pain. So don't do it that way. So aerate in diagonally along the, like if this is your lawn again, go like this way. Go diagonal. It's going to be easier aerating that way on a slope. Works better. And if you're interested, Simi, here is the blog post I'm talking about, core aeration. And in that blog post is a video that will show you what I'm talking about. And if you look at my YouTube short from last weekend or maybe the weekend before, when Alex was aerating the front lawn, he was doing exactly that. He was going diagonally, because this is the way. That is the way to not hate life whenever you are aerating a sloped lawn. All right, next up is Gary Kelly Jr. He says, Ron, I forgot to ask you earlier about your still combi system that you have. Do you recommend it? Yeah, so I have, it's either the K91 or the K92. I'm not sure. It's a smaller one. And do I recommend it? Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, I've had mine for years. I think 2018. So what is that? 6 years now? And it works great. Works awesome. So yeah, I highly recommend it. They got like Alex has the bigger one. You think he's got the one? I think it's the 131. Got the big block. And if I were buying one now, that's the one that I would buy. And I mean, given like Steel makes really good equipment, and they tend to last a long time, especially for the way we use them as homeowners. Like we don't work them nearly as hard as like a landscaper would. So I would say get the one you really want. Like if you want the more power for like running the blower or whatever, get the big block, get the 131, because then you're unlikely to wear it out or replace it. Again, my K91 or K92, whichever one it is, I've had it for 6 years now, and it doesn't miss a beat. Like it starts up really easy. Beginning of every season, it's a great piece of equipment. Absolutely love it. Would highly recommend it. Now, I believe that Steel has an electric version now, an electric combi. I don't know that much about that one. Like as far as how well that works, I imagine it's fine. But as far as the gas-powered ones, highly recommended. Let's get Smuga says, as a question, he says, hey Ron, can I apply fungicide and grass seed at the same time? I've never done that, but I'm trying to think of why you couldn't. That should be fine. It gets Muga. I can't see why that would be a problem. Yeah, if you want to put out a fungicide and you also want to put out grass seed, I should be okay. I can't think of a reason why that would not work. Ruben Texeria says hi. Hey Ruben, how's it going? Thanks for coming by to say hello. Appreciate you. And then Shauna says, oh, the quality looks much better on IG now. Well, yeah, because we're using a good camera. It's a really good camera and a really good lens. But the only negative is that I'm like all up in your growth. I can see a preview of what you guys are seeing, and it's like what I'm seeing is like just my face. So the one negative to this is that it looks like I'm just I'm filling the frame. There's more of me in the frame than I would like. But yeah, you're looking at a really good camera and again a nice lens paired to it, which is why the picture looks so much better. This is how it looks on YouTube. So you're getting to see what YouTube and Facebook and Twitter gets to see. Now Instagram also benefits from it. Simi Singh says, thoughts on top dressing with peat moss after core aeration? I wouldn't. I would use like a proper top dressing mix, like sand and soil or sand and compost. Like that's what I would use. I wouldn't use peat moss. Like if you're looking to level the lawn and really, you're gonna go through all that work. Like you're going through all the trouble right now of core aerating the lawn. There's no reason to like only go to like the 10-yard line. Let's get the touchdown. Let's do it. Let's go all the way and get get a proper leveling mix and do that. Like use like some kind of core sand, river sand, masonry sand will work fine. And then with that, mix in a good quality compost, and that's going to produce a good result. I would not use peat moss. I would use an actual like a proper leveling mix. Next up, we see here Ruben Texeria says, I have mushrooms. Any ideas? Not a ton. I mean, really, if you want to get rid of them, I mean, they tend to go away when temperatures get hotter, like what time you get to like mid-morning. If you want to get rid of the mushrooms or have them be less of a problem in your lawn, improve drainage, and then also turf rake your lawn. Like if you can turf rake or verticut your lawn, meaning you thin it out, you get rid of that spongy, like the thatch layer, the spongy part of your lawn, that's going to make mushrooms a lot less likely to be in your lawn. For example, this year, knock on wood, I have not seen a single mushroom in my lawn, not anywhere. And in years past, I used to have mushrooms in my lawn. One, because I wasn't bagging my clippings, and then second, I wasn't turf raking or verticutting, and all those things add up to creates conditions where mushrooms will show up more often than not. But ever since I started introducing those other practices of verticutting, turf raking, I haven't had any mushrooms in my lawn at all. So we'll see. I might get one at some point this year, but none this year so far. So that's what I would say. But I mean, here's the thing, Ruben. There are a ton of other benefits other than getting rid of mushrooms for doing those things. So I wouldn't do that just for the sake of just getting rid of mushrooms. There's a lot of other benefits to your lawn for like turf raking or verticutting a couple of times per season. All right. Corey says, awesome, Ron. Thank you. What do you recommend besides negate and should I kill off all the weeds quite a bit before core aerating? So instead of negate, if we're talking about warm season grass, I would use this. I would use Certainty. So Certainty is the herbicide I would use for Poa annua. and sedges over negate. So as far as like really what Certainty is really known for is for sedge control. That's where it shines, right? But it also happens to control Poa annua as well, as well as a bunch of other weeds. So this is what I would use instead of negate. Add surfactant with it. So Certainty and surfactant. This is a match made in heaven. Will do a great job cleaning up the weeds in your lawn. As far as killing off the weeds before you core aerate, not strictly necessary. Not strictly necessary. I mean, if you want to do it, sure. If you're worried about, oh, I'm going to core aerate and then maybe if the weeds are still actively growing, maybe seeds will spread around. I mean, I don't think it really matters one way or the other. If it were me, I would spray the lawn and then maybe the next day go out and core aerate. I don't know that I would wait for the weeds to completely die off before I went out and core aerated. As far as where you can find Certainty, if you go to the golf course lawn store, go to shop and weed killer. Here you will find Certainty herbicide. And you can either get just the herbicide itself, or you can get our convenient kit, which includes Certainty, turf marker dye, and surfactant. So as far as like having like a little bundle that will knock out, helps you to get the most out of the product, like that is what I would go with, Corey. So I'll hook you up here. I'll link it here in the chat, so you will be all set, and you'll be on your way to slay some sedges, and if you still got Poa this time of year, in your lawn. Certainty herbicide. Here we go. So hope that helps, sir. All right, let's move on. We are getting towards the end here, and then Yukon hybrid seed. Let's see here. I already answered your question, Ruben, on mushrooms. And then Tristan Burrow says, I didn't know you had to calibrate your backpack sprayer. Thanks for the help. You're very welcome. Tristan, actually, I got a video on said topic on calibrating your backpack sprayer. Let me help you out here. I will link to it. It's been a pretty popular video this year, so I'll link to it here in the chat. This is my technique for doing it. There's a couple ways of doing it, but and it involves doing some really basic math, but I like it. I think it's a way to more consistently get good results, and you don't have to just there and spray an entire gallon and time it. So if you're interested in that, Tristan, here is a video on calibrating sprayer. Send. Yep. So that video will show you the way that I do it. Not the only way, but it's how I like to go about it. And you said, I'm new to this. Well, all the more reason to watch a good video on sprayer calibration, which you now have. All right. Let's see here. Danny says, I feel my heavy clay soil, sulfur and ammonium sulfate is beneficial for the pH versus urea. The salt, 2 gallons recommended for burning the tips. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Now you're adding more details that I didn't have before. So you're spraying. You can try it and see what you think, Danny. I don't spray ammonium sulfate on my lawn. Well, mainly because I don't need to lower my soil pH, and I also don't spray straight urea on my lawn. So for those two things, I don't normally do. So maybe if you're doing those two, maybe 2 gallons per thousand or 1.5 gallons per thousand is a better idea. But for the products that I use, Release 901C, the Golf Course Lawn 22-3 fertilizer, like the micronutrients, the liquid products that I use on my lawn, 1 gallon per thousand works great, and you don't have any issues with burning or anything like that. So if you're using something else, maybe using more carrier might make sense. But if, again, I can only speak to the stuff that I regularly use and have direct experience, a lot of direct experience with, and in those cases, you don't need more carrier than 1 gallon per thousand because you're not watering them in after application either. You put them out and let it dry, and you are good to go. Jake says, Jake, not from State Farm, says, I have the same thing. Cool. All right. Well, I think that I answered it. Hopefully the answer earlier was good for you, Jake. Tom V says, Ron, sorry I joined late. I wanted to ask you, how can you identify slow release fertilizer versus fast release? Is it purely based on the percentage of NPK, or is there some specific in their ingredients? Great question, Tom. That's a good one. So I'll show you, and most fertilizer bags should have this, but I will point it out here if I can pull it up. So if we go to, let's see here, because the Lebanon does a really good job of showing this. So if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store and we pick a bag of fertilizer, let's say a Cubic Max, because why not? Because it's awesome. And you pull up the label, you're not going to be able to read that. Let's try this. Let's look at the Cubic Max label. Okay, that is more better. Can I zoom in a little bit more? Yeah, cool. All right. So if you look here, you notice whenever you look at the nitrogen, so it's a 16% nitrogen fertilizer, but you notice that for some of the nitrogen, like the ammoniacal nitrogen, the water insoluble nitrogen, and then other water soluble nitrogen has an asterisk next to it. So that, if we move down, designates the nitrogen that is slowly available. So the methylene urea that Lebanon uses, they brand it as Mesa. Like that homogeneous prill, the blue prill that's in their fertilizer, like that, that's these two percentages. If you want to say what percentage of this is slow release, it's 3.9%. I think that's correct. So 2.5 plus 1.4, yes, like 3.9% of this is slowly available from urea. So because you see it's designated, it's marked there on the label. So if you look at the label, on a quality fertilizer anyway, they should tell you like which ones are the slow release nitrogen, or the slow release component of the nitrogen makeup. So hope that helps, sir. And then next up we have Jake. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save that, Tom, because that's a good question. I'm sure someone else at some point will have that. Tom V. And about slow release nitrogen. Like, how do you know on a bag of fertilizer which how much percentage of it is? All right. Next up is Devin. He says, "What's up, Ron? Looking forward to some good turf talk. What's going on, Devin? Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks. Hopefully I'm not going to disappoint. Hey, man, I've been keeping this secret. Like, the folks in the academy knew about it a few weeks ago. I read them in. But I just did some new content. But I got to tell you, man, you already know about this. But like a new in Primo, change your life. Pretty awesome. Now, the only, for golf courses, I could see this being probably a bit more expensive as a combination to put together, but man, the results are a sight to behold. I really like it. So I know you think you have some experience with it. You mentioned, I think in the comments that you liked and you, that it's with some Primo, it's pretty awesome stuff. Pretty awesome combination. Jimmy says, we're only 81 likes. We're getting there. We're doing better, Jimmy. We're at 131 now, so they've caught up. I appreciate that. And then next up is Loss. He says, Ron, any plans of releasing your own Bermuda grass seed? None at this point. I'm pretty busy with a lot of the stuff I got going on. Grass seed at some point might become a thing, but not now. And plus, think about it. To do grass seed, that's going to mean me doing a renovation and trying it out on my lawn or testing it out. I mean, if I'm going to sell something to you guys, I should be especially something that's appropriate for my lawn, my grass type. I got to be testing it. Like I actually got to you got to eat your own dog food. You got to make sure that it works well. So there's no plans at this point. And if I did, I would have to, sounds like a lot of pain and work, to be completely honest. So I don't know that it's going to be in the cards anytime soon. Los. I won't say never, but no plans. No plans at this point. It gets Muga says, bless you, Ron. You made my weekend. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to help. Glad it's such a small thing will make your weekend. And I appreciate you hanging out and watching on the live stream. Danny says, great info. Thank you for this content. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And then next up is Tristan Burrow. He says, yep, I saw your video. It was much simpler than any other video I saw. Are you sure? So Tristan, here's the thing. If you look at the comments on that video, I get a lot of hate. People are saying, this is way too complicated. You don't need math. You can just take a gallon tank and just spray it and then time it, and that's going to be good. And here's the thing. You know what? When I first did, I did a couple versions of that video. And the reason why I don't like the whole spray a gallon thing and then shut it off, like stop spraying when you get to a gallon, is whenever the sprayer is running flat out, the water doesn't fill up nice and evenly to where you can be like, oh, I'm right at a gallon, I'm going to stop now. Like the water's moving around and it's hard to measure to know exactly when you get to a gallon. So the reason why I did it that way, where I said, hey, spray for 15 seconds and then do some really big, quick, easy math to figure out to take that number and extrapolate that out to how much time it would take to spray a gallon, to me makes a whole lot of sense. And I think it's a repeatable and easy way to do it. And it doesn't take as much time. So I'm glad to get some feedback that you actually found it to be simple, because that's not normally what I get. Most people say I'm making it way more complicated than it needs to be. So I'm glad it was useful for you. DH says, can lime be applied this time of year? It can be, absolutely. Sure can. I did a lime app, actually, yeah, this time of year. Like the video that I have on lime was done in late May. I'll see if I can find it here, and I will I'll send it to you. Like this video that was done on lime, if I can see I don't see the release date, but this is like several years old, and I'll send this to you, DH. I did it between my fertilizer apps. Yeah, there's the, hang on, I just did your name, DH and lime video. And I've shown the soil test results a couple of times in the live stream. I did this lime app, and then when I tested again in October, I tested before, did the lime app, and then I tested again in October. So like 4 months later, I noticed, and I did notice a movement in the pH levels. So anyone that says you can't apply lime this time of year and get some results from it I respectfully disagree, because I've actually done it, and I've actually tested the results, and I've got the data to prove it. So can you apply lime now? Yes, you absolutely can. No problem at all. And that video actually is done this time of year. It's done between May and June. All right, next up is Isaac Momperouse. He says, fungicide and seeding is the way to go. The coating versus Scott Barenbrug uses has fungicide in it. So there you go. Yeah, I didn't think there would be a problem, but Isaac has confirmed that there's no problem with using a fungicide when you are putting out grass seed. Appreciate that, Isaac. Phyllis is in the house. She says, hey, Ron, this weekend it will be hundreds. Goodness gracious. That's really hot. It says, my Bermuda grass is already showing signs of stress, and it's in the 90s with extra seed heads everywhere. Help. Thanks for everything you do. So a couple things, Phyllis. You know, if you've have not gotten a moisture manager like Hydrotain or Foreplay and putting that out yet, do that. And then the next thing is if you live in a part of, I think you're in Texas, but if you live in a part of the country where you can increase your watering, that would be good too. So moisture manager, increased watering is going to be my best tips for you, because the hundreds, I mean, that's hot. Like that doesn't matter where you are. That 100 degrees is hot. And even though Bermuda tolerates it, like it's not going to kill it, like it's going to feel stress, especially if it's not getting enough water. Given those types of temperatures. So moisture manager, and I would increase watering if you are able to do so. And David Macarano says, hey Ron, un saludo desde, or a salutation from Katy, Texas. What's going on, David? Katie's not too far from near where my aunt lives. I have an aunt that lives aunt that lives near Katy. So yeah, very cool. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate the love and support. Well, guys, gals, this is going to be like, so it's 3 hours. It's going to be like 4.5, almost 5 hours of live streaming today between the one that we had at lunchtime and this one. So a lot of time jibber jabbering about turf grass. B Butcher says, what are your opinions or what are your options on something like Hydrotain or something else? Yeah. So Hydrotain, Foreplay, if you go to your local landscape supply store, they will likely have some kind of a moisture manager that you can use as well too. Hydrotain's a good one. Like a lot of those places take Hydrotain and they will white label it and they will sell that. So a lot of times what you buy from them is Hydrotain, especially if it's in granular form. So it just depends on what you want to go with. But like Hydrotain or Foreplay, I'll give you links to them here where you can find them on the Golf Course Lawn Store, Phyllis and B Butcher. And that should help you as far as helping the lawn deal with the stress it's encountering. Moisture managers. So there you go. So hope that helps. Oh, we got a couple more questions here. This one is from Super Duper. Sprocker says, hey Ron, I plan on using Celsius, Sedgehammer, and quinclorac for my weeds. Do you recommend combining all three in one application or separating them? I have zoysia in Central Florida. Thank you. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish, man. So, I mean, Celsius does a pretty good job for broadleaves. Sedgehammer is good for sedges, and then quinclorac for crabgrass. So if you have all three of those, I mean, yeah, I guess you could combine them all, but I mean, in other words, I would not just go take every single herbicide you have off the shelf and just mix them all up and go out and spray the lawn. It's really mixing those three only makes sense if you're trying to control broadleafs, you're trying to control sedges, and you're trying to control crabgrass, and you've got enough of it that it makes sense to do a blend and just to do them all at once. In that case, sure. But outside of that, I would pick the one that is appropriate for the weed you're trying to control and only use that. So if all you're dealing with is crabgrass, use quinclorac. If all you care about is sedges, use Sedgehammer. If all you care about is like broadleaf weeds, then use Celsius. So it just depends on like how bad the weed problem is in your lawn and what you're trying to accomplish by putting all three of those together. That would be my thoughts on that. Rusty's Creations up next. He says, hey Ron, being in South Texas, I'm really debating quarterly pre-emergent apps with only having 6 weeks of dormancy? You ever plan on having a liquid dimension in the store? I've thought about it. I could look into it, Rusty. It's something that I will consider as we get closer to the fall. This time of year, pre-emergent there's not a ton of demand for it, so I'll look into an option for a for liquid dithiopyr and see about adding that to the store. It's a good ask. It's definitely a gap, and you're not the only person that's asked for it, so it's something we can work on. And then Phantom Works, I think the last few questions he have here. He says, caught the stream earlier and capture the process for leveling. Like it. Should I seed after the level? And I'd like to switch grass type over time with overseeding without killing the old grass. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, you can, but just realize, again, mixing two cultivars, mixing two grasses at the same time is gonna look weird. Like it's not gonna look nice and even, especially when you get into the hotter times of the year where one grass type grows faster than the other. It's gonna look patchy. So the best way, in my opinion, is to burn down what you have and do a proper renovation, and then you just transition from one grass type to the other grass type, and that's gonna be the way that you can ensure that that it just looks more even when it grows in. If you decide you're gonna, like, say, move from Bermuda to zoysia, right, or something like that. Bermuda grows a lot faster than zoysia. The color of Bermuda is different to zoysia. And if you decide to have them both in your lawn at the same time, I mean, as long as you're willing to tolerate the color differences, the texture differences, and the growth differences, then sure. But like, there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time trying to avoid exactly that. I think I was saying this in the live stream earlier, like, recognition and fuselier, that combination was created specifically for this purpose, like to try to get rid of Bermuda in zoysia versus like leaving it around. So it's up to you. If you don't care about the appearance of it, then I guess. But if it were me, I would go through the pain, burn down what you currently got, and then move over to another one. The only negative to doing that is you are going to have a period of time when you have no grass. So you're going to have like a brown dead lawn, and if that's really going to bug you, if that bothers you more than having the appearance of two different grasses, then sure, I guess you could transition it over a couple of seasons if you want to go that route. But again, it's gonna look unsightly. So it just depends on which one bothers you more. All right, our fragrance journey says, "Good to have a good one, brother. Go Dogs!" Great way to end the show. I appreciate you. All right, guys, I think we are also good. You're very welcome, Super Sprocker, and thanks you so much, Phantom. Thank you for all the love and support. And we will cue the outro music. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Folks on Instagram, if you guys, can fill me in after the show if you like this, fill me in and let me know if you like this new format. I know I'm a little bit closer than it was in the past, but if you are still digging it, I'll keep going this route, and we'll just keep working. That way you guys get to be more involved in the conversation. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate all the love and support. Again, the new growth regulator, a new EZ, is available. It's in stock and shipping in the Golf Course Lawn Store, along with our premium selection of fertilizers, fungicides, insecticides, pretty much everything you need for an amazing lawn, along with the knowledge to be able to apply them for great results. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have an amazing and safe Memorial Day weekend. Get out there, do something fun in the lawn. I will see you guys next week. Take care.